What is going on, everyone? It is David Palmer, Leo King, and welcome to your sun sign horoscopes. I'll be covering from the 25th of April to May. I think I'm doing it to the 1st, right before Pluto retrogrades of 2024. Hope everybody's doing wonderful out there. This is kind of a unique one because usually I would combine this with my Leo King Live, but I want to keep the sun sign separate. Full disclosure will be after this with just me. Tonight, Natalie can't make it, so I've been a little delayed getting stories ready and getting all ready for that show. But I'm happy to be with everyone and be live because I know there's going to be a lot of people live tuning for this one. What's up, Ann? And we have quite the energy to come into. I'm happy that Mercury retrograde is over because I do feel like I can give you a better sun sign horoscope. Doing it when it's stationed and stopped retrograde is never the best to do anything, including astrology, which is ruled by Mercury. So lot better insight, and we're going to be covering all 12 signs, and you can of course apply this to your rising sign, but we have quite the turn of events that are here for this week, and we're going to cover all those. So without further ado, and I will show you the chart. People seem to like when I do that, and when I add the sign underneath it, even though we are going to be looking at the charts solar-wise. They put it as the rising just to put the placements of the sun in the house of where it is so you understand better. All right, Aries. Well, this week, much better when we get to the end of this week, the 1st, which will be more like Monday into Tuesday, because Mars is finally coming back into your own sign. And that's going to dissipate a lot of this 12th house energy that you've been through for quite a while, which, not going to lie, is not easy. But it is an energy that still remains with Saturn and Neptune that are here in the 12th. But with Mars coming into your sign, Venus coming into Taurus, we're in this Taurus season. And this is the second house and finally a lot of first house energy. Now, you've had a Mercury retrograde that just finished for the last 23 days in your first house. So there's a lot of redirection in your life, new ideas sparking. But I feel that, if we really think about Jupiter and Uranus that conjuncted, again, what you really want in life is one thing. What the universe wants it to look like is another. The good news is I think that you've seen a lot of the things that haven't been working. This is a week to where you're going to start to see the confidence that, and this will only be if, the confidence that things will work if it's aligned with spirit still. So it's really weird because, yes, there's been delays. There's been kind of having to be thrown up into the middle of the universe. And sometimes, we all, but I would say more than anybody, you Aries, feel that nothing stops you even when the universe is stopping you. But I think that it's important to pay very close attention to Venus that's going to be in square to Pluto. And even though Venus is in its home sign of Taurus as we get to this weekend, and it's going to finish in your sign, the square to Pluto in the 11th house is, again, more of this disruption energy about the values that you have. But it's more about making sure that you understand, are you sure you really know where you want to be in the world or what you want from the world? Are you sure that you understand what's best for the world? That's going to be kind of the weird conflict. Look at the world today, Aries. Go look at a college campus right now. You can't try and push an agenda on anybody, and I don't think you push agendas, but to understand what other people want, or also to provide what you think other people want is not going to fare well. So what you think is best, especially with Mercury still in your sign with this North Node conjunction, which I would say that this destiny is saying, hey, it's okay for me to be at where I'm at now, and starting to see after a Mercury retrograde in the first, with Chiron, with a total solar eclipse. Now we're finally in Taurus. Now Jupiter and Uranus have met in the second. It is like a new start, a new you. And my advice to you would be, with this Pluto still in Aquarius that's about to stop in retrograde when we come back on the next sun sign horoscopes next week, your perception of where the world's going to go in your point of view, or where you want maybe people to see you more, because second house, 11th house squares, especially for you, are always wanting your values to be seen by others. Hey, I'm here to tell you that's not always the case. It might be for some, or it could be even weird dynamics where in a group, one or two people do, but the rest don't. So it could feel like, well, the board doesn't agree, right? But you know that there are people that do agree. And that's what makes the dilemma is, do you want to live your life always in a dilemma? My dad actually made a board game called Auto Dilemma. And because he was in the auto industry, we all have dilemmas in our life when we have cars. It could be working perfect, then the next day it could break down, and then next thing you know, it's just a dilemma, just the experience alone, then getting it to the service place, and then how the service place treats you. It's like always trying to find that one person that understands. Well, that's nice and all, but that doesn't change the outcome fully for the big things that you want. I think that this is now, with Mars going to finally get out of the 12th, and remember, it's going to conjunct Neptune before it does, in the 12th for you. This is a moment of like full-blown, where is it all going? Let me start fresh. So I would recommend, if I was Aries right now, or if I had an Aries ascendant, start over. Like take all the ideas and take all the things of what your desires and values are, and just rewrite the page all over again, and don't have some sort of connection to what you expect or want it to look like. And rewrite now. This is a good time for you to really say, maybe all this has been such a dilemma, or weird things, or not the totality of, let's say, a whole group or a whole idea coming together in your life, or a whole project, or some value system that you want your life to look like not fully working right. Maybe that's for a reason, to get you to this other place within yourself to write without connecting so deeply to how it's got to look, right? And actually going, you know what? Fuck it. Let me just see what it's like if I rewrite this story without any of those, because it'd be like writing a movie. But if you were so obsessed with writing one movie, don't try and bring that movie into the new one, right? Like, don't try and bring the character that didn't work in that one, or don't try and bring the thesis of it, or even the plot, or even like start over right now. Now, I'm not saying you have to start your whole life over, but it's one of those things to where it's like, maybe it's time for you to start looking at that there's a lot of different awesome roads here. Because the positive is, you really can't create anything. It's almost like maybe the universe, and I'm being real with this, and it's actually a positive. Maybe the universe has put so many things on stop because there's a way better route to go in your life, a way better you that fits into a way better place that you weren't seeing because you were so sidelined by that place, by your own wants and desires of the outlook. This can be hard, especially maybe you're in a relationship that really, you're just in it because you're hopefully going to get something out of it that isn't actually happening. Or maybe you're in some sort of place where, you're trying to be your best to be positive about it, but it's still not going there. That's because there's another road. This is definitely the chart when you look, whenever anybody's going through these three houses, the 12th, the 1st, and the 2nd, it's, especially when it's way overloaded in the 1st and the 2nd, okay, this is about new beginnings and new stories and starting from fresh. But what's hard is you have Saturn and Neptune, and then Mars conjuncting this Neptune in your 12th, right? That's still this hanging on to something. And for you, it's not just a little something. It's still like the whole caboose of a train. And so that's going to be hard with Mars which is your ruling of your sign, conjunct Neptune in the 12th, is like, there's a big, like, it could feel like a blow this week. I'm not going to scare you. Don't be afraid of it, because that's not a blow to you. It's a blow to your ego, right? Some sort of news, especially now that Mercury came direct on the North Node, that's really like, hey, this is what the beginnings of the new story you're going to be writing is about, right? So the more that you're clinging, or the more that you're trying to impose what you think, well, I'm best for this thing, or this group needs me, or this is how I'm going to change the world. Go back to square one. And don't make it about something so much. You're an Aries. You're the only sign that's allowed to be like, hey, this is about me for a second. But I think the problem with Pluto and Aquarius right before it retrogrades here is that you're making it about you because you think of where you're fitting in, or where you fit in for others, or what you could do for others. Again, you're going to be let down. Other people are not in the entirety going to see it. And I think that that's the problem. It doesn't matter if like so-and-so does see you and that person sees you. If there's too many weirdos that don't, is that worth your energy and time to continue to keep trying? So this might sound like ludicrous, but Aries, what if I were to tell you that there are places in the world where you don't have to have those dilemmas? Sure, there's going to be maybe one person on the outside that always might not like you or something. But it shouldn't be the core, and there shouldn't be any place where there's hesitations about the free flowing of you being able to be in and out. Meaning, I can come into this, I can go out, and I don't have to always write something or talk to that one person or get to know this person or try to prove myself to another, because the subconscious of all this Pisces is saying, what are we removing? We're removing deep subconscious parts of yourself that is trying to prove yourself to people. With all this Taurus, Jupiter, Uranus, the Sun, and now Venus, and Venus square Pluto in the 11th. You're trying to hope that somebody sees you a certain way, or hope the world sees something. That's just the clear-cut, basic, like, that's what you're undercutting yourself with. That means you're lowballing yourself. And so I think that it might sound like a hard horoscope, but really it's a positive one, being like, it's time to roll with the high roller that you don't even know with of yourself, right? Like, you don't need to do these things that you think are so great. Could even be humanitarian based, or even could be about something that's esoteric or something that's unique and different. It's not that great, especially when there's not enough support. And so I think that this is a moment for you to really go, you know, not all Aries have an ego about just themselves. I think that you're actually at a point in your life where you're really wanting to do good for others. Maybe just the things that have shown up have been teaching you that there's a different route, and that it's okay to start with a new idea, and it's okay to start with a new version of you, and learning to still let go of those things that really are not spiritually aligned, right? Life is meant to flow. If it's not flowing, and it's a constant battle, again, I told you last week, what's your plan B? What's your plan C if the plan A doesn't work? Because plan A ain't going to go the way you want to. So it's kind of like putting more emphasis on these other routes is going to open up way more doors for you and be much better. I do also feel that Mercury, as it's stationing and then finally direct, and now it's creeping towards Chiron, and it will happen next week with Chiron. It's a reminder that don't put yourself in a position where you're going to trick yourself and say, no, yeah, okay, I'm going to accept this. But really I'm still going to hold on and still hope, because that is going to be another wound. You're wounding yourself by the attachments that you're having of outcomes, especially about what you want your future to look like, or what people, and I would say it's combo, what people that you hope see you more, or involve you more, or receive what you create more. This is about knowing your own self first and making it to where people have to really want you, that you have to be willing to be like, I don't know if I have the time, right? Instead of you kind of being to where secretly you hate feeling that feeling where it's like, gosh, do I really have to keep asking these people or asking this? You don't want to have to be in that position. This is about up-leveling. And so that up-leveling means that whatever you think is the top is nowhere near it. It's the bottom. All right. What do we got card-wise for you? Oh, well, you got the 3 of Swords. So I will say that, again, it might seem like it's heartbreaking. You might get some heartbreaking news. I kept getting that with the astrology. This Mercury on the North Node can be harsh because it's going to bring a very extreme destined truth about courage and the confidence to take that new identity in new directions. Especially Jupiter and Uranus are kind of all over the place here when it comes to your values. It's not that crushing, especially when you let it go from the ego position. All right, let's talk to Tauruses. It's their birthday. Happy birthday, Taurus. Taurus, it's your birthday. Well, you've had the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. We're going to see Venus come into your sign as we end the weekend and come into the end of the month. And then Mars is going to be in conjunction with Neptune here in the 11th, but then it's coming into your 12th. So this is, again, kind of one of those weird horoscopes. It's really good for you, but there is Mars coming in the 12th that I am a little concerned about because it is in its home sign. But you do have Venus, your ruling planet, in your own sign. But Venus is faster than Mars. So Venus will be quick through Taurus, and then you'll still be with this Mars here for the next 40 days. My whole thing here about this is the week to where I think that Tauruses have come full circle. It is your birthday, right? But you've come full circle in realizing there is so much that you've missed out on life. Now, you're one to enjoy the good things in life, but there's so much more. And I think for you, this is a lot having to deal with, again, people and how, geez, maybe people aren't as bad as they really are. Maybe there are so many cool things out there in the world and there's so many cool people to find and to connect with. And of course, with Pluto that's getting ready to retrograde by the time we come back next week on the 2nd of May, and with Venus in your own sign going to square this Pluto, it's reminding yourself the responsibility now that it's going to take to connect in order to get the things that you want to experience more about, especially if you think about this 11th house with Saturn, Neptune, and Mars going to pass through. It's like the ego for you is really this kind of like more neurotic place that thinks that, is this person going to come through? Is this person not going to come through? Right? Like, is this person good or is this person bad? It's like getting rid of that. Like, no more labels, right? Like, at the end of the day, you're better off in life with more options of people and opportunity than you are with not. I think you've learned that lesson. So the only way to really undercut yourself with this 12th house transit of Mars is yourself, right? You're the one who pulls yourself out. It's not like people pull themselves out of Taurus's life. They always come back around, right? You're the one who's always upset and gets mad and leaves, right? You're the one. That is Taurus's big secret. I'm unhappy. I'm going to go be all by myself. What are you going to go do by yourself, right? So I think that the big 12th house issue with Mercury that just finished its retrograde and stationed direct in your North Node is probably a positive. Like, I think that the fact is true. Like, you can't be a hermit in your own world anymore. A lonely cow is a really bad place, and it makes really bad milk, and all the steak tastes bad. So a happy cow does a lot better. And I think that for you, happiness is something that you're realizing you're good at. That ain't the issue, right? Virgo is your 5th house, and we don't see anything in Virgo, but we still see a ton of energy in Pisces. And this Mars-Neptune conjunction being like, what are you passing through? You're passing through the part of you that always finds unhappiness through that we're all flawed human beings. And not every human being's perfect. So giving second chances, being more empathetic, and also realizing that, hey, more people are like you than not like you. Maybe they have different values. Maybe they don't, need to have the soft water shower that you do, right? And you don't understand that. But does that make them a bad person? I think that for you, you're healing a lot of the wounds that have been going on deep in your own subconscious about where you always get upset and kind of fall away. And then you are used to being the understanding of reliable. This is about building reliability. Now, I know that might sound weird, but reliability where people start to go, yeah, I can count on that Taurus again. I can call that Taurus and they'll be there. I can see that that Taurus is a leader. Part of this Jupiter-Uranus with you during this birthday season, which will never happen in your life again, is the leadership that it takes. It's not about being the leader of people as much as it is inspiring others by showing them maybe a better way. It's not about, well, we don't have the same values. Maybe it's about showing people what values are. That's what your job is, and seeing how good things can be, and so that they can get to there. But if you bail on them and say, this is the best way to be, and don't continue to keep showing people how to be or what the best things are, then is life even worth it for you? Because you actually get off on a positive note when you feel like people actually see something that you showed that makes life better. That's what makes you feel the best. You don't really feel good when you do it for yourself. To be honest with you, the irony too is you could have the nicest things in the world. You could have the manifesting thing of your dream, Taurus. But because Pisces rules your 11th and all these planets are in the 11th, it doesn't feel like it's spiritually worth it unless there's other people around to see it and experience it with you. And I think that's what's been missing, is this deep-seated need for sharing experiences that you find valuable too. If you just do it by yourself, it really doesn't do shit. So like, again, nothing's coming to take you out or take things away from you. You're that person that does it to yourself. And with this alignment of Venus in your sign, it's going to help you gain that understanding of that value more. Because right now you could be coming into this week like, I don't know what to really do or how I'm going to really do it. So you also are going through a test of, hey, you do know, you got to start like picking it up here and actually just being yourself instead of worried about so many things always happening, or worried about what other people might think, or worried about if you're going to be all right. You know, the good news is there's responsibility, which you love. And I think that for you, it's like when you realize that responsibility now is where it makes or breaks your life. It takes you to the next level or it doesn't. So the more irresponsible you are with your time, the more irresponsible you are with what you're actually purposely doing that has to be connected with people. Like, this is so weird because Aries is having issues trying to convince people and wasting their time. You're wasting your time by not doing what you really want to do, and actually not having to convince people, but actually showing up by being around, by presenting offers, by presenting where do you break bread. I feel like Tauruses are about to break bread with people that maybe they forgot about or they need to break bread with again. So I wouldn't say about love though, but more friendship and more colleagues or more of that. Like, this is where it's like, you know, you have big stuff to do. Jupiter and Uranus are only going to help if other people are involved and it's got a mission involved. Uranus rules your 10th. Jupiter rules your 8th of trust, and you got to trust people. And with all these energies in your 11th house, you got to trust people. It's you in the 12th that gets in your own way. And these are the wounds that you are understanding about healing, that it was like, shit, I caused that. Shit, I got out of that. And you know what? Maybe it wasn't even that big of an issue. I think that for you, you're realizing that the issues aren't as big of a deal that maybe you've perceived in the past. And I think that you're coming to an amazing moment here, because it's like, if I actually put the responsibility of the purpose and I don't let the small stuff get to me, well, I can go do big things and I can start having those enjoying experiences again. A Taurus without a group of people to experience it with, it's like that saying, if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's around, did it fall? Is the experience as good as you felt it if nobody was around to experience it with you? You got the 3 of Wands upright. So this is saying, look out into the new horizon. There's a lot of great ideas, a lot of big visions that you're having right now. I know it might feel like, you know, maybe when's it showing up? It's showing up when you're ready to make the moves. You're the one that can make the moves right now. You're the one that can build the alliances, break the bread. So follow those visions, present those visions, if any sign right now can present anything and people are willing to actually listen and actually take the time, even if they might listen and not want it, at least they're willing to listen. It's you that has that doorway that you could open. So don't be afraid of people by actually getting over that. It's kind of like, this might sound crazy, but in therapy, when you have anxiety or you have panic, you always have to go back to the source to where it caused you it, right? And so for you, it's almost kind of like you're coming back to places to where you left off, where you were about to launch, where you were about to do big things, where you were really going to follow what you want. And it's kind of that fear that something's going to happen again within yourself of like, I don't want to do this, or this is too much. There is nothing that's too much for you right now. There's nothing that you can't do, but you are kind of crossing eerily old waters to where you retreated. And this time, you can't retreat. All right, let's go to Gemini. Gemini ascendant. So, well, Geminis, we are pretty loaded in the 12th house. So if anybody we have to talk to about the 12th house, it's you. I was just saying with the show in Rich Lop last night, when I do my sun sign horoscope, so he's got to prepare the sign that's dealing with the big 12th house shit. And now it's this Taurus energy, but it's Gemini and it's in your 12th. Now, this is the hard transit because it deals with where it feels like God's putting us to the side. And for a Gemini to be put to the side is like hell, right? Like, you like to move, you like to shake, you like to think, you like to go and do this and figure it all out. And it feels like everything is stalled. Why? Well, what's the better thing to do here in life now? What's your true values? God's putting you on timeout. And that's why the 12th house is weird. It deals with prisons, deals with hospitals, it deals with spiritual temples, which really the real temple is just the temple up here with our pineal gland, the third eye. But it's making you look deep at yourself and go, what do I really value? And God is right next to you right now, Gemini, going, hey, I'm not stalling you. I'm not putting you through all these random crazy situations that are making you contemplate life and God at the same time in very huge ways. Without some sort of reason. It's for you to go, all right, God, this is really what I value. Sometimes God takes things away, and it's not literal, right? It's not like God comes down and just goes, hey, you like that toy? I'm pulling it from you. It's not like an evil parent, right? But God has set you to the side here of your life to make sure you understand what is valuable and that it's spiritually aligned. Now, we're going to see Venus come into this 12th, and it's going to square over to Pluto. And that Pluto in the 9th there's a lot of philosophies and a lot of different belief systems now that for you are about opening up to. But also, that does mean putting an end to some. Now, I think about it and I go, there's a lot of life here for you, Gemini. And it's about, let's see how well you can actually envision it and make sure that it's actually got all the values to it, because it might be kind of like you've really kind of like maybe too fast put the vision together of what it's supposed to look like, and that's why it's kind of crumbling. So if it's a relationship, if it's a vision of just your life, or it's some sort of idea of what your life's going to look like, it kind of is like, no, that's not going to happen that way. Right? The universe is putting you to look at like, where are you really going with your reality? This is Aries, where we see this North Node and Mercury retrograde just finished. And so there's a message, a destined message. Like, what was the message that Mercury has been giving you, especially since you're ruled by Mercury in Aries in your 11th house? Where's your world going? What are the solutions that need to be found? What if there's been a message that's come up that's been really weird? It's like, okay, you got to relook at your whole world, and it might feel like this is a really weird moment of a review, because that's what it is. When you actually look at all this stuff in the 12th and all this stuff in the 11th, it's a review. And you've got serious stuff in life to do, or things that you feel called to do. But sometimes before those callings can come into full action, it brings up all the stuff that's kind of hidden, or the stuff that could have inhibited to actually get you where you need to go. So this is a big review. Like, are you sure? Because what happens in 2 months if you didn't address this with this person or this situation or this spiritual conflict that actually is popping up or this? So God is going, I'm pushing you to the side. It's just a sideline. It's like being on the bench. You're not out of the game. God definitely wants you in the game. God's looking at you as one of the best players of the game. But you kind of did get sidetracked about maybe following one of these other people or following this idea. And it's like, no, that ain't the game plan. And God's making sure, like, do you understand who you are and what spiritually you actually have values for? And what stuff don't? Focus on only what's the best for yourself here spiritually. It might sound crazy, but Geminis have turned into kind of forgetting about themselves. And so, worried too much about what other people think or trying to help too many people. Like, you could be involved where you're trying to help somebody too much. You got to stop worrying about how other people are going to fare, right? Because if you think about it, Gemini, why is Aries your 11th? It's like, okay, you need to be with people who have confidence in themselves to take care of things, because you can't figure it out all the time for them. Now, it's different when you deal with children. Like, you can't just like expect your 4-year-old to figure it out, or you can't expect your 15-year-old to just figure it out. You're still a parent. So that's different. But when it comes to friends, associates, groups, or what you're doing in the world, and then when we get deep into this 12th, it gets really personal, especially on your soul level with God. And because Jupiter, Uranus are here, Uranus is the ruler of your 9th, but Jupiter is the ruler of your 7th. So this is maybe you had visions of where certain people were supposed to go, or what you're hoping other people will be. But it's like, are you forgetting about yourself? Are you not putting your own values that you need first? Like, what's missing? Because this also can bring up what's really missing. The irony here is that you could fill up a vase full of sand and say it's full. But if it's flowers you want in there, you have to be honest with yourself and be like, the vase is empty because there's no flowers in it. It might be full of sand, but there's no flowers in it. So it's coming up and being like that you don't really ever feel empty, because you always feel full, even if you fill it with filler or crap or whatever. And so this is kind of this moment where it's like, let's empty all the vases out and let's put in the flowers. Let's put in the beautiful things that actually we really want to have. So the big question to you, Gemini, is like, why are you feeling hollow? Right? It's because you're saying you're feeling filled, because you're not going deeper down to what you really aren't satisfied with deep inside. Right? There's something going on where it's like you're not fully feeling full spiritually. There's something missing. And don't let other people be upset about this, right? That means they're not true to your life, because it probably doesn't have to do so much with like friends and acquaintances or people, but it's like some value of yours that it's been hard to either let it go and you haven't found how to transmute that, or it could also be that, you've discarded things that you shouldn't have. But the humbling part of yourself and communicating and realizing anything's possible with Pluto here in the 9th and with Venus squaring it is kind of like, it's okay to fuck up. You're very harsh on yourself. You almost like don't want to show also that you do fuck up. It's okay to talk about fuck ups. It's okay to fuck up. It's okay to say you're sorry, right? It's okay to apologize. It's okay to clear things. You're in a massive clearing moment where you have to be honest just with yourself. It's not like you're deceiving. It's more like you don't want to cause burdens. But the main thing here is that, well, you used to not be that way, and now it's come to this place. You want to do great things in the world. You want to make it big. Well, you're going to have to be honest with yourself and be like, what weight are you carrying that you don't want to hold anymore? Are you trying to help some people more than yourself? Are you doing it because It's more like a vision that you want to do, opposed to actually, well, I'm not actually spiritually feeling anything from it. So I would be addressing any kind of hollow feelings as there's a lot going on, and what's the energy that surrounds that? A lot of energy that also at the same time could feel like you're losing something, when really it's more like, well, what did you lose that you're trying to replace it with? And that's why it's leaving, is because you can't replace the original brand with the store-bought brand, right, of life. Like, you can't replace something that you feel like you didn't value and actually now you do. It's okay. You're a flip-flopper. You're a Gemini. But there's definitely an emptiness and a void here in a review of why that's happening. So no matter what's going on or who you are, you're on the sideline. That's not a bad thing. It's not like something bad's going to happen. It's more like there's God with you doing some coaching and doing a review of the plays and being like, are you sure that this is the play that you want to run in your life? Are you sure that this is the story that you want to run? And remember, because Pluto is, and I'm saying this to you specifically because the only way that this can make sense is Pluto coming back into Capricorn, especially as it's going to retrograde in Aquarius next week. You have to remember, listen, you're coming back to the 8th house. That means underneath, if you're not fulfilled, nothing that you want to be the vision will actually ever make it, because it won't have legs, it won't have passion, it won't have the depth. So there's a lot of depth missing. So it's like the shallowness of life, or just the shallow things aren't enough. You have a desire to do something, or you have a desire that isn't being met in your life. You have to go make sure that the story involves those things. And if you're around people who are too sensitive to that, because one thing that I will say, because this is a hard chart, Geminis are definitely, if Gemini ascendants are definitely on the sidelines, and for them that feels hard during this time when we already feel like is the world's in a sideline. I would say, listen, it seems complicated, but it's not. Aries is very simple. The message is like, what do you need? What's the solution to it? And execute that. The hard part is that you don't like to make people feel bad, or you don't like to make people feel like you let them down, or you don't like to sometimes admit that there's just like something else going on, or that, especially for you, the past is always like a weird thing. You like to look at the beautiful part of the past, but there's other stuff too to it. So as you're looking at your story of your life, it could feel like you can't let something go, a job, a situation, part of the story, because you're afraid that if you let that go, that'll hold back something that honestly, if you look at it, is nothing. That you're going to have to face fears that the story is going to go bad, when really the story only goes bad by you not going to retrieve the real thing that's actually happening in your soul. You're not just in a review, you're also in a retrieving. What do you have to retrieve? Like, it's like if you leave the house without your purse or your wallet, you're going to be thinking about that shit all night. Even if it's okay and you have a fucking Apple Pay and whatever, there's something about it that makes you feel good. Well, the universe is saying, like, what did you forget? What haven't you gone back to retrieve? Or what are you still holding on to that you don't want to be at? The worst is a Gemini at a place that they don't find value at. Talk about feeling like they're in hell. Geminis run away from places that they don't like to be. And that's actually your way to be. But for some reason, now you almost feel like the wallet to something else that you don't really want to be. So this is also God kind of pulling you to the side, being like, are you sure this is the story you want? Are you sure it wants to look this way? Are you sure you want to be used in this way? Because you have to remember, especially by people, organizations, groups, or even friendships, or people that look friends. And sometimes it could be, for those singles out there, or people, sometimes Geminis will be in a relationship they think they're in when they're not in one, if they're not married, right? Like, oh no, they're my friend, but we're in a relationship. Like, all those weird things aren't going to survive this. You've got to do your review, and you've got to get out the stuff that's not working. The confidence, though, is going to be asking for help and reconnecting with energy, or connecting with energy with people with Mars now in the 11th house about, hey, you need help, or you need just like, help so you can focus on the things that you need to retrieve, the things that you need to review. Or this could be also about realizing, which people in your life really do matter, which people in your life need to maybe be talked about, what stuff in your past, maybe you need to close some doors, maybe you need to look back at them. There's a lot of review here. Nothing's going to take you to the 10th. Nothing's going to take you to your glory or where you want to go till you have this deep review. And it's going to last for a minute here. It's not going to just be this week. It's going to be for this whole month, even coming into May into your birthday time. So you need to really start to slow your roll, not feel like you're missing out, because it's going to feel like you're missing out when really you're missing out on the story because of what you're doing. There's something that's missing. There's something that you're still connected to, or what you're not doing, or holding yourself in purgatory to what you really want, no matter how disruptive that might be. You have to not be so afraid of what other people might think or making assumptions of where other people are at. Until you communicate, you have no idea where people are at. So don't make assumptions like, well, if I call this person about a job, or I call this person about wherever I need help with in my life, I don't want to intrude because they're doing this. Or you don't know till you actually talk. You can't be afraid of that shit anymore, and you can't do that hollow thing. What did you get for your card? You got the Tower card. Wow. Okay. So I know that this is a scary card, but it's just like whatever's happening to you is because it wasn't going to work like this anymore. Right? So this is about the positive change that comes at this. Like you were already feeling this energy coming. Right? You were just putting it like in your mind, like it's all good. Let me just run the gamut still. You can't run this gamut anymore. So it's a serious situation, but it's a serious situation with a big opportunity for you to get out. Remember, Jupiter, when it's in the 12th house, no matter how bad it looks like it's going to be, and it always looks fucking bad with Jupiter in the 12th, it's the angels with you the whole time to get you through it. When anything bad happens to somebody, and it's when Jupiter's in the 12th, I'm always relieved because I'm like, well, at least God's there because there's a reason for it, right? And it's never as bad as we think that the outcome is going to be. It's usually the opposite, but it feels like hell. And for right now, you can feel like you're in between worlds, especially with that Venus square Pluto, because the story's turning a completely different corner than you thought. And whatever you believe the most isn't happening, and whatever you were like, there's no way that this is possible to happen, that's what's happening. All right. Let's do Cancers next. I know some signs might get a lot more than other signs, but that's just the way it is, I don't do these towards people or anything. I do these just randomly. This is how it's done, right? And some signs need it more than another. If I feel empathetic to a sign, I do, right? It's a little different for you, Cancer. I'm going to say this. This is your optimum moment of the whole year. The rest of the year is not going to have any more optimum moments like this. Now, have you heard me say that to anybody else? No. Why? You've got everything, all the planets from the 11th house to the 8th house at the top of your chart. You are perfectly at the top. Nothing in the 12th house, which you're getting ready for in a month, less than a month, right? In 1 month from now, Jupiter will be in Gemini for a year. Square Saturn in your 9th. I know that's way far ahead. It's about looking ahead, though, for a second and realizing if there's any moment in your life about making the biggest decisions to change your life right now, it is now. There is no better time, and there is no other time that will be possible. All the planets are direct this week. For this week, I'm covering till May 1st. You've got Jupiter, Uranus in your 11th. They've met. You've got the Sun here. You've got Venus here. Mars coming into the 10th onto your midheaven. You cannot ask for a more blessed chart than Cancer's right now, or Cancer ascendant. But what always comes with that is all the personal issues are the problem. Your ego, your self-worth, your ideas, the comfort's the big one with the South Node there in Libra. Your love life and your day-to-day routines and your health are all suffering because you're too afraid to make big decisions about your deep desires and needs, that the story actually has to spiritually be a story that actually works and not one that you're creating some sort of hyperbole that you keep believing will be possible or hoping for another day for it to change. And you have to take the courage and the action to actually make the big decisions in your life and be responsible to get yourself to the next level in life. Being a crab's already a hard life. If you're going to get off the beach and go into the ocean and chill out on a fucking reef, you got a lot of fucking decisions to make, right? You're afraid that this will happen or this will happen, but crabs, you got to move. This is your moment to move of life, right? Like you have to actually make your moves because it's affecting all those places I just said personally, big time. But the big one is that 11th house. That's where the sun is. That's where Jupiter, Uranus is. The only sign that has the availability right now for a whole entire amazing gift. It's the house of where we receive gifts. It's the house of luck. It's the house where it's more than just people. It's like you're suffering with all this Pluto energy in the 8th, especially with Venus here, that's in your 11th, squaring over to Pluto in the 8th. You are allowing yourself to suffer because you're too afraid of the endings that'll take place to the new that could happen. Whether that's a job, a relationship, you're dealing a lot with career. If your career is not going well, you got to look at your personal life and you got to look at your home life. And it's weird because it's this 8th house energy where it's like, I know I was saying that like Tauruses could be a little hollow. Cancers right now, you guys will stuff whatever you can to make sure that it's not hollow. But for some reason, you're the one now that can't like fake it because now you're dealing with like life or death, right? You're dealing with this kind of like, it's at the edge of a fucking cliff and it feels scary. The 8th house is scary. The moon's going to cross over here on the 30th. We're going to see Venus in square. And this Venus in your 11th now is saying like, aren't you ready for a life and that really can prosper and go into the directions that actually you're going to feel happy with and excited about? Half of the whole battle is like learning that life can be exciting. Like you've almost lost the excitement and the spark. And a lot of that is because the responsibility that you have is to have the courage to make decisions that are the best after you've assessed everything and actually you've looked and seen like, hey, it's not balanced in my personal life. It's not balanced in my emotions. It's not the dream I thought it was going to be. This Mars conjunct Neptune that happens before Mars comes in is like, you're having to go deep within and realize that your plans over the last 2 years, all these things that you thought it was going to be just aren't. And I guarantee you 2 years ago was about a patch that you made. Some sort of, patch, like I'm going to fix things. I'm going to get through all this shit. No. The patches don't work. Okay? So your healing is, does it have to be a destiny that feels like it's a flop? No. But you're the one continuing to keep putting the Band-Aid on to a wound that maybe, needs a lot more attention. And more importantly, a lot of that is by using that more like innovative approach to things and using maybe the new surgery of your life that you would have to do, right? Like you're almost like too afraid to make these dramatic moves. You want to keep it all peaceful. That ain't working. And if anything, like I've told you for a long time, that you would build up to pressure points because the delay of making decisions, the delay of making life changes builds pressure. So you're at where the pressure cooker is. If you were to think of a chart, like the fucking top of your chart is all steam and the kettle's already fucking boiling and it's been sitting on the stove a long time. Right? So now some of the neighbors are starting to think, everything okay in there? That's the other weird thing about the 11th house is like people know what you're going through and you might not think so, but it's like people who care about you or value you, know it, but that's the 8th house, right? You can't stuff and hide things. People are always going to know what you're feeling, how you come across, how you look, what's really going on. You're not good at hiding shit. Let's be real, right? You're good at like hiding who you're in love with. That's Scorpio, 5th house, like your crush, right? But you're not when you actually come out of anything, right? When you come out with the truth, like that shit's fucking like fireworks. Everybody knows, or everybody can feel it and see it. You're at a place to where it's like you're boiling. The steam's going, the pressure's cooked, your personal life, the whole life that you had thought was supposed to be, the universe is saying it's time to go to a completely new level. It's time to go take yourself to where you don't want to miss out. Because if there's any chart about FOMO on your destiny, it's Cancer. Right? Like what, like the big question would, if I were to guide you as an astrologer, which I'm doing, but like, you know, I'm not going to put myself as God because I'm not God, but as an astrologer, my big question to you is like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? And I think you should ask yourself that question. Like, what are you doing? Like, what is this about? Like, how did you end up here? You have the ladder. Take the ladder. If this was a zombie apocalypse, you're fucking stuck in the middle of a fucking, I don't know what. You're like in the stuck of a middle of an alley and there's like no way out, and it's just zombies, but there's a ladder, and you're like, but, and you, whatever, I don't even care what the excuse is at this point. You're too afraid to take the ladder to the next level because you're afraid, I don't know, you don't want to hurt the zombies? I don't think so. I think it's more like, you know, there's some really deep things that even I don't know, right? Like you have some stuff here that the fear is not going to work anymore in your favor to let it take you over. You can't be afraid of complete transformation. You cannot, because it's about bringing you the ultimate gift. Like what's so crazy about your chart is everything you ever wanted is waiting on the other side of your biggest fear of change, whatever that fear of change is. And you know what it is because it's causing you massive disruption. It's not making you happy, and it's not making you feel like you could even get anywhere. It's almost feeling like a burden. It's feeling like it's weighing you down. So, you know, what are you waiting on? And you know me, I hope it's not a relationship, but it probably is. The relationship with your job, the relationship with your single life or your coupled life, because Pluto's going to come back into Capricorn. Once that Pluto retrogrades on the 2nd of May, I'm going back to Capricorn, and so everything's about that 8th and 7th house cusp for you. And that is the only sign getting that with Pluto, is you. So that means that Cancers are dealing with the most roughest, intense, and crazy situations, dealing with connection and dealing with relationships and dealing with either the blocks of it, or you could be in a relationship and be not even, there's nothing there, or you could be single and there's nothing there, right? Like the problem is that the sparks have lost in so many areas of your life that the transformation for you feel like the responsibility, you must stay on the hellish road, which that is the lie. Because if I were to just give you a little nudge to help you, I guess I'll say it nicely, but the real harsh stuff is about to come. It's not now, but a month from now, when Jupiter comes into that 12th, oh, hell yeah, it's getting it gnarly, right? So this is your moment to make those changes now. You have everything at your disposal from God. The big thing too is I got to say, like, even in 2 years, next year, no, let's just say 1 year from now, Uranus is coming into Gemini. You're about to be with the biggest 12th house transits that are going to disrupt you. And if you notice that every outer planet and every big planet, they're all heading towards the top of your chart or to the 12th, right? So you have to realize, like, you're at a place to where maybe you have peaked out in certain areas that you thought there's more and there's nothing left. So you got to pivot, right? This isn't retirement. This is shifting gears. This isn't ending the story. This is ending the story that needs to evolve to the next one, the next version of it, the next thing. Dealing with personal life issues is your problem this life. you're at a place to where it's all opposite of who you are as a person. And so you have to be willing to go where you've never gone before, where you didn't think you had the power to do it. That's the only way out. There's no other way out. I hate to tell you it. At least you have an out. Most people don't right now. Most people have to go through and sledge the shit. You're the one where if we were to all be all 12 zodiac signs and put all 12 of us in a room and we were all to know that you had the magic card that at any moment you could just get out of the hell and you had the door, you could exit the jail or exit the door and go wherever you want, and you're just sitting there complaining about your life, and because you don't want to face the music of the change, all the other 11 signs, we're going to be kind of pissed, right? We're going to be like, what the fuck, Cancer? You mean you have the key the whole time and you didn't tell any of us? We would have said, use it for yourself. Go. Like, at least do that so at least one of us gets out of here. But no, you're the one choosing not to do anything with it. Too scared. You got the 3 of Pentacles reversed. Yeah, you're too afraid of working with the people and the alignments that you need to be connected to, or going to the place that you really need to connect with and doing great things. It's almost like, it kind of reminds me of a high school person. Like, no, those are my boys. Those are my girls from my crew. It's like, well, look at this other world here. Like, do you need to bring your high school friends with you? Do you need to bring these people with you? Well, yeah. Well, it's like, oh, sorry, can't do it. Like, like we're here for you. Like the universe, it's kind of like if UFO showed up, they would be like, where's all the Cancers? And Cancer's like, fuck no. And it's like, inside though, you're like, damn, I'm kind of wanting out of all this. But you're too afraid to go on the UFO and be abducted. Even though you're not being abducted to any crazy place. Even though it does feel that way. All right. Leos. Well, Leo, everything's at the true top of the chart. So for Leos, you can't have any excuse. You got to do the big work. This is now Jupiter, Uranus, the Sun, Venus, the ruler of your 10th, in the 10th. Now, I was thinking about this one, Leo, because I am a double Leo. All the positions of the planets in domicile are based off the Sun and Leo. They're based off us. So Venus is at home in Taurus because that's where the Sun likes to be, at the top of the chart. But really, Mars coming home to Aries is the position to where the Sun rules in Leo. It rules from 2 to 4 p.m. And that's where the 9th house always is, to the 8th house. So there's like this moment where it's like, you finally got the stage, but it doesn't feel like it's there. You finally are at the moment to do the biggest work of your life, but you have to believe more than you ever have before. What's crazy is everything's always worked for you. Everything's always like, okay, believe it. I'll fucking do the tap dance and make it happen, and people will see it, and I'll get the thing, and da-da-da. You are at big, huge questions of fate. Now, with Venus in the 10th, with Jupiter, Uranus, it's not so much about what's randomly going to pop up for you. You remember that anything that happens in the kingdom is what you put out. So you have to look at, okay, if I want something to come in, I got to put something out there. Especially when it comes to business right now, right? You're the one getting the big one in your 10th house. You're the one getting in the house of fame. You're the one getting in the house. And it's so weird because this is what all Leos have been trying to get to for our whole lives. And then we got to this place. And this Mars, Saturn, Neptune here in the 8th is making us feel like we're drained, or maybe we don't have enough energy, or we feel like we don't trust anymore that it's going to all work out. So this is dealing with more of your shadows here of belief. Like the pessimist in you. The part of you that really is not what a lot of people know, including yourself. Every Leo I've known and every Leo that's ever existed has always been, no, it's going to be all good. It's going to work out. But with you, now you're like, no, it's not going to work out for yourself, right? Your own belief system is where this Mercury retrograde has probably shown you some good signs, but also shown you some signs of like, hey, you got to start getting on the ball, and responsibility now is a big one. But the square from Venus to Pluto in the 7th house is a balance order. How do you balance out relationships or even just your life balance with career and personal life, right? Because you're dealing with the opposition to that Scorpio. We just had that full moon there too. But I think that for you, a lot of this is like this new relationship that you're having with all parts of yourself, the responsibility it takes to continue to put out the best things so people actually do see what you are, that nothing comes easy, but your beliefs determine that. You're going to have to believe fully in the leap that the greatest things are here for you in your life when they don't look like it, because it feels like barren straits with the 8th house, Saturn and Neptune and Mars. And so you don't need to force anything, but you do need to relook at how are you putting your energy out there to attract what you need. Because this is what's weird is, yeah, sure, we have to produce and create things as Leos, but the 8th house is like learning how to receive. So a lot of this is to where, whether it's investments or how you're dealing with like how well you're not seducing, but putting yourself out there. And that's why the belief system's important in Aries here, putting yourself out there to where people see the positive, that they do want to come towards your energy to put you on the stage, or come towards your energy to be part of your mission. When it comes to your relationships, anybody who doesn't support you, that's going to be the big question. Like, you know, or if you're not wanting to support other people, right? Like, let's say you're in partnerships or relationships and you don't want to support somebody, well, then that's a big question. But if it's the other way around, it's kind of like, okay, ask why. And honestly, it's an important time for you to realize, like, you can't worry if people don't see what you see, right? Like, and you can't let your beliefs be bogged down by, the worst would be people who are pessimists to you, or people who don't believe in you, or even like if people don't trust you, let's say. Don't worry about that shit. You know who you are in the spotlight. You know who what your values are in your mission. The universe has put you in a place to where it's like the biggest things are going to come from Leos here, but it doesn't feel like it. It almost doesn't feel like it's showing up either. But that's where the best things take some time. And for you, this is the week to remember, stop maybe worrying so much about all these things outside of yourself, because that's what Pluto in opposition to you is. You forgot about you. You just forgot about, like, how do you bring the Leo back? That's the relationship issue. It's not so much with people. It's so much more about just with you just being who you are. Stop worrying about every move you make, what that might look like, what others might see that as, and get back to that belief in you're a fucking Leo. You're here to roar and be yourself. And anybody that doesn't trust that, or anybody who doesn't understand that, you know, like a roar is not a yell, a roar with teeth biting down the neck of a gazelle is a mad lion, right? Like, we get misunderstood all the time. And so that's been with the South Node in the third has been hard, is the misunderstanding of our communication. We think out loud. And this is this moment to where it's like, stop thinking so much. Like, you see a vision, go for it. You know, relationships that understand who you are going to trust in your instincts here. You're going to have to go off your instincts, but if the belief system's fucked up, then the instincts are not going to be firing on all cylinders. They're still there, but unless you have a broader vision for something, those instincts really aren't built for Leos to do much, right? So you have to look at that. There's a whole entire also new story, and it's the new story that's kind of going from great to damaged to thinking it's all bad to rewriting it, being like, no, I'm healing that, and actually it has always been good, and getting back to yourself. It is a great time for you, not going to lie. This is a chart where Leos individually, if they've ever learned astrology, have been waiting their whole lives for this. Yet it's so weird that it doesn't feel like it actually is arriving there. But if you were to maybe use that 9th house, which is hard with Chiron there, to actually stack up all the chips of where you're really at, everything's in the right place at the right time. It's time to start to seize on opportunities for career. It's time to seize on opportunities of where you can go. And you know that you always take people with you. If you have people who are trying to battle you for fame or battle you for the energy that you're trying to do to help others and do great things, well, that's where you're going to have conflict, right? Is like people are going to have to like accept that you are where you are because you're able to accept where people are where they are. So if people don't accept where you're at in life, that would be a sign of where, you know, okay, you've given your all and watch them fall away. The whole lesson, Leo, is it's no more about what you make a choice about partnerships or whatever. It's people stay or they leave. And if they leave, they leave. You sit on your fucking throne, right? They either want to be on the throne or they don't want to be on the throne. You don't need to go chasing anybody. Well, speaking of thrones, Queen of Cups. I feel like Leos are finally finding comfort again in who they are this week and finding out that there's a lot of trust, but that belief has to be there, and that's where you're going to find that emotional comfort. And once that emotional comfort's back within you about who you are, things will start synchronizing and flying like a motherfucker. I think for you, you have to actually trust 100% at the edge of a cliff here like you never have before and be okay with it and comfortable. You've been at cliffs like this before, but it feels different. But at the end of the day, who trusts the universe more than anybody? Leo. You've got to do it and prove it to others and prove it to yourself more than ever. All right. Virgos. I need a drink for a sec. Usually I stop on Libra, but I'm like, how long? It's been an hour? And okay, halfway through. It's like 8 minutes to sign. All right. Virgos. It's weird, but it's not that weird. You are in this quadrant. Now, this is the quadrant of building up esteem and life. And it feels weird because when we're in the opposite quadrant, the first quadrant, we always are feeling like everything is going to happen right away, and it doesn't. The irony is you're at the place to where it's like, no, now is where things are starting to build up. And I think that for you, this is a big question. It's like, how big do you want things to really go? I mean, for you, you have to reassess your values. This is a sustenance house. This is a mutable house, the ninth house. So to have a Taurus, Sun, Jupiter, Uranus, and Venus, the ruler, and then Mars, your ninth house, or sorry, not your ninth, your eighth house in a fixed house, like that's strong. So you could be like, believe it or not, your ego, Virgo's ego, are very fixed on what they want. But when it comes to your viewpoints, they have to be flexible and those values need to shift. So if you're too insanely on a belief system right now that has to be a certain way and it has to deliver, because the big question here is relationships still with Mars, Neptune, and Mars. This could be very big breakups for Virgos right now, or going into the most stupid relationship, or taking somebody back out of nowhere, or fucking dumping them and then taking them back, stuff like that, or them dumping you and then you being like okay with it. This is going to be some relationship drama because this is Mars and Neptune and Saturn all meeting in your seventh house. Now, that has never happened in your life before. And this is your seventh house and Neptune rules it. So the relationship thing is really weird because it's looking at your story and this story that needs to shift. Have you built your whole story about the kind, either to try and find the certain relationship or because of the relationship? Right? Like you can't wear a relationship as a lifestyle. And that's the big thing. Pluto in your sixth house, you're a Virgo, that's your natural house, the sixth house, and it's squaring over to Venus in the ninth. All of your lifestyle understandings of where you think is going to be cool and edgy or different or eccentric or what makes you different, it's just not working. Your belief system is at a place to where it needs to go to a better belief system. It'd be kind of like if you wanted to be like Las Vegas. So you made your room Las Vegas. What, are we going to add a smoke fucking... Do you want people to come in and be smoking in your house at 4 a.m. and when you wake up, have it feel like a smoke-filled casino? Probably not. Oh, so you missed a whole portion of the Vegas understanding. The problem is that you're injecting the idea of a lifestyle into the way that life's supposed to look, right? And lifestyle is everything from like, oh, I'm a metalhead to, oh, I'm a this, I'm a cook, I'm a this, I'm an artist, I'm a that, right? Like, it's like, you can't, this is where Virgo has a problem. You can't make, this is where, same time period where Saturn was, Michael Jackson, who was a Virgo, tried to make his life Neverland, okay? I know I used to use that last year and it pissed you all off. I'm just going to keep it there, though, to remind you. Stop trying to make lifestyles look like your story. Not going to work, especially when it comes to relationships, love. And this 8th house can be trauma stuff that you're healing. And I'm going to be honest, for most Virgos, you know what the trauma is? What you deny yourself of, what you don't allow in. And then this might even hurt even more. And it's so weird because it's not maybe what you were thinking of. It's not so much also what you didn't let in. That's a big part. It's what you did accept in that wasn't that good, that it made you feel safe, or it made you feel like it was going to go along with exactly what you wanted. And at the end of the day, it's kind of like, I kind of like maybe it not just being this certain way because maybe I didn't think this whole thing through. This is the 9th house with Jupiter, Uranus. I can tell you as somebody who went through that, right? That's what Leos went through, right? Like, trust me, it never ends up the way that we all expect it to look, our story and vision. It gets close, but it doesn't get that close. It expands us into different places. I never thought I'd be doing High Vibe TV. I thought I'd be David Palmer, the astrologer. Didn't even believe I'd be the Leo King. And no, even though my life feels like a lifestyle, I don't have astrology shit in my house. I don't live my life looking at my chart every day. I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't make myself go live in Geneva next to a clock or something, right? So, it's like, this is where deep inside the trauma is, where you take things on that aren't that great because at least the identity identifies with it, but you block out the things that actually there's something calling in you that's like, I really want to see, but there's a fear there because it'll take away the story maybe. Virgo's biggest fear is that story being taken away, that lifestyle being taken away. Now you've run into a place to where, is this the lifestyle you're going to live continuingly still? Are you gonna, and so this also deals with sex. Mars coming into the 8th of Aries, Chiron, Mercury just retrograde in the 8th, like satisfaction, depth, desire. Is it because of what you actually really want, or is it because it's more like it's offering the view that you want out the window, when really that's not why we connect. We connect for deeper things. And you actually yearn for deeper things. So if there's anybody who's feeling like a yearning that's missing, not so much a hollowness, not so much an emptiness, but a yearning, like, fuck. And mistakes that of choices of like, I committed to things I don't really feel that interested in, but I convince myself. You have to stop convincing yourself that everything that you have committed to is exactly what it really is. It's about the Aries in the 8th house is being raw, naked, and real about like, let's identify what the issue is. Oh, you've got, I don't know, because we're dealing with 8th house, it could be like, you have razor burn. Big deal, right? Big deal. Right? But to you, that would be like, nah, I won't see anybody until my razor burn's gone. Like, like, it's like, how much of life do you miss out because of those kind of things? But expand that into your whole universe here. Nope, that doesn't look the way that I want it to look. Nope, that's not exactly the value that I had placed in my beliefs. You're missing out on so much of life because the adventure is waiting, but only the adventure that you keep taking is only the ride that you choose. So it's like, we learn more, the 9th house, by going in places that we didn't think and that we are also not understanding of. So your problem is that you keep choosing the place that you already understand, but you want to go experience more of. How much more is there to experience? You've already wrung the towel out And there's still so much, but it's like at the end of the day, all you're doing is refilling the towel and then wringing it out in the same place. Same situation, same. So it's daunting. The big secret for Virgo right now is the daunting energy of you're not satisfied. And there's something that you're yearning for that you're not getting. And that's because, hey, I get it. You like to protect. You like to protect yourself from having a lifestyle that, to be honest with you, has it been worth it to hold the line for something that really was already delivered? And you're just like realizing now that life's not about just this one thing to deliver or this one place to reach. It's about experiencing all the things. I think that what's hard is being around relationships that further the lifestyle that is not good for you, or the best way to put it would be damning, right? Like let's say you drink, right? Or let's say you have a drug problem or something. Being in a relationship that continues that lifestyle isn't good, right? Because your health's involved with the Pluto in the 6th. And then that comes back to your heart, and that comes back to your true happiness, because when Pluto comes back into Capricorn in September, like Virgo, your life will not move forward if you're not truly happy. And that happiness, it comes with a condition, right? It comes with the seriousness that you need to take it for yourself, not the seriousness that you project out to others. It's the seriousness for yourself to actually take love and happiness more seriously instead of aesthetic or lifestyle or, well, you're almost too accepting of people. Because really that too accepting of people is because, well, it's easy or it works or somehow they found their way in. But really, if you think about it, because you have your doors always so closed, nobody's allowed in, you're allowing the cockroach that came in through the ceiling and dropped onto the ground. And like, oh, hi, well, you showed up. It's like, that means that whatever came in wasn't supposed to come in and came in through their own accord, right? Or maybe manipulated you in some sort of way. Or maybe because you're too scared to actually face what you really yearn for, that you're just willing to take whatever's there, or whatever was there. Virgos are not big daters. So, this is like where the Virgo wakes up after a 20-year marriage and goes, what the fuck? This is where the Virgo wakes up after a year of dating or with someone and goes, what the fuck? It doesn't matter. Right? Like the big question is like, you have some very deep 8th house issues. I remember going through Chiron in the 8th, and I remember being like, this is the story I'm going to be going through. And it fucking, no. Whoa. Yeah, I was yearning for something else in my life. And for you with Mars coming in here, with Mercury that just retrograded, your ruling planet, by the way, it's like the underneath of every Virgo is a traumatized, now not in the way they would think about it, a self-traumatized, man, why didn't I accept? Why didn't I go to that place? What if, it's like the question that's running through your mind is, why didn't I just actually go with what I was yearning for a year ago, 3 years ago, whatever? It could be any time period. You knew there were huge opportunities that you cut off because of a belief system or because you thought, oh, I got to be on this lifestyle. I have to do this thing. And so this is this moment of like, are you going to continue living like this? This is an opportunity to have the adventure of your life. And an opportunity for you to actually like, let me see what it's like to actually receive what I want from my yearning. Let me open the door. Now, you don't need to let everything in. Boundaries are important. But, you've had brick walls that are moats. And it's not just moats with guards and crocodiles, Aries, like crazy fucking shit, right? It's almost like back off, kind of energy. Like that's, guess what kind of partners you have when you have that? Those kind of partners, right? So I think that it's not horrible, but I think that you have to look at it as like, because I showed you at the beginning of this that your chart is in this quadrant, right? You're in the 3rd quadrant. This is above the horizon line, but this is where everything is setting, right? Now it's flipped because all the planets are going the opposite way. But the concept is the understanding is like, what's setting is the you that was in struggle 15 years ago, or the concepts or all that stuff that aren't working for you anymore. And so now you have to actually sunset those in order to launch now the new wave. I call this the wave, right? When Saturn reaches the 7th house, right? It's exalted here, right? Libra's the exaltation of Saturn. And this is where Saturn now climbs to the top of the mountain. So you got to look at this as like, this is the moment where it could be the life that you've actually wanted. You haven't seen that for a long time. So what are you doing when it comes to, continuing to just let yourself yearn in despair, secretly about what you really are not happy about? I would call this desperation without wanting to reveal it. Like, it's okay. It's okay to be honest with yourself that you're not happy with what you have or what you've blocked out so much of, or what you're so afraid to go experience in your life. There's a lot of learning lessons here. But the specific way that things have to be, that lifestyle that you disassociate with so extremely from other lifestyles because it has to be only focused on that one, is you're missing out on so much. And what's weird is like other people could miss out completely. You're not missing out completely, but you're living with the understanding of knowing every door you missed, every situation you missed, every social media post of somebody that was an opportunity in your life or something that you could have had a job-wise or whatever, just popping itself up constantly in front of your face. And that's all because of you. And that's what you have to heal now. And whatever replacement that you've kind of thrown in there to make you think it's something else, it ain't going to change the day. If anything, it's feeding the irrational behaviors that you're going through and health problems at the same time too. You did get the Emperor reverse. So, yeah, I think that, the Emperor gets to where he wants to go in life because of understanding the whole adventure. He doesn't specifically know how he's going to be the emperor. He has to talk to people, has to convince people he's not born of blood, right? Napoleon became the emperor, right? And he was a military guy, right? That was the last thing he was thinking about was being the emperor when it was a republic, right? It was freedom. It was during the revolution, the French Revolution. It's like the same kind of concept. Like how you're going to get where you're going to go is not the way that you think it's going to be. So if any sign has to remove their full kind of like ego that's wrapped around how to survive, how to live, what I have, what I want, where am I going? It's you. But it's not a bad thing. It's one of those things where it's like, stop getting in your own way. Stop saying no so much to all the things that you've gotten plenty of evidence of are good possible yeses that could have been totally different places in your life. You have to look at your life completely different now. And you have to get rid of the specific way because you aim too small. Right? Like, I just want this in my life, and I'll be happy. Guess what? You got that, and you got that with not what you actually really wanted. Guess what happened? You're at the place where you're at now, where it just feels like stale. All right. Libra ascendant. I don't have Virgos trying to kill me, right? All right. Just making sure. All right. Well, Libra, I know I was pretty harsh on you all last week, but this is Jupiter, Uranus, and the Sun in your 8th house, right? Like, again, and I'm just going to be as real as I can fucking be, as I always am. The only sign that is here for relationships to receive from people, especially the creation that other people have made. Why? Taurus is what is created of self, but you have it in the 8th house, which deals with the other that we share with. So really the big question for all Libras is sharing, right? And it's not so much about what you give, it's what you receive. For some reason you have it built in your body because you're a Libra that it's like, I have to do it all. But that's not true, because what's the other side of the scale? The other side of the scale is, if I'm receiving this, where am I doing something? Like, this is just about receiving, right? That's why it deals with sex, the 8th house, right? Like, there's give and take, right? It's nice in life with both people who can orgasm at the same time. But there's also times when you can give somebody an orgasm and vice versa. This is where it's like learning how to receive in all fronts of your life. You're at a place in your life with the North Node. Now here comes Mars in the 7th house, Mercury retrograde. When it comes to your relationship life, and now you have all this with Venus, the ruler of your 8th, in the 8th, in Taurus, and then Pluto in your 5th, the square to Venus, the sextile to Mars. It's like there has never been a chart ever, especially if we're talking about like where all the planets are in charts, like I've done that for some signs. Guess what you look at a chart when it's all 7th, 8th house, and here you got 5th house and some 6th house, right? Who is this for? This is the chart of you have found the one, go all in and receive everything that you can. It's not about you at all. Look at how empty it is. I think that's so hard for you because that's where the South Node in Libra is. Oh my God, I got to make this about me. Me. No. Like, this is where your destiny is about the relationships that you choose. And as a Libra, your life's about that. Aries is where Mars is is at home. Venus is where Taurus is at home. You're here to be in a relationship that helps define you and receive the things that you want. So the worst thing about, like, let's say a feminist movement or even this masculine movement now is the idea of an independent woman or an independent man for a Libra, because the sun's at fall position. In Libra rising, it always is ruled by Venus. So if you're Libra rising, Venus is in the 8th. It's here to receive, right? Like you, that's the hard life. Judges don't have to do all this other shit, right? They receive the court to already have the prosecution bring the case to them, the defense to bring the witnesses, the court recorder, the court workers, the district attorney's office, the county clerks, all that shit to figure it all out. All you have to do is sit there, receive and make the judgment calls of life and see what's fair and not fair. For some reason, though, you're trying to want to be all these other things. What are you doing? Like, it's actually a high position that you are, and it's a gift. It's a gift of God that your life came here to receive. And especially about love and happiness, because for you, with Venus in the 8th squaring Pluto, it's almost like if you're in the rejection of receiving and happiness, it's because you reject to love yourself, right? So this is going to bring up your self-love issues and where expressing your love comes from in a bad way, right? Or I don't want to have to express my happiness, or I want to always be in a place where it feels dark when really it's Taurus. It's like being down, surrounded by a garden of beauty that wants to keep delivering and offers. Like, you're in a place to where you'll never see a chart like this in your life again. So Libras finally got to the moment. I remember talking to Libras, doing these sun signs for over a decade now. And I'm like, yeah, your time will come, but it's not now, right? Especially 9 years ago when it was like, fuck, it was the North Node fucking in Libra. And it was the South Node in Aries, right? And then it was Pluto-Uranus squares and all that shit. I was like, nah. Now this is your one moment in your life to actually have the ultimate combination of relationships and receiving and happiness. But I guarantee you're putting other things in front of that. Yourself, all the stuff on the other side, right? Your subconscious, running your ego, you and what money you're creating, 2nd house, 1st house, opposite 7th. And then we got that 6th house where Mars is going to go through Neptune. And so the issue that you're having to do, and this is the issue of every Libra ascendant, is Pisces rules your 6th. So what does that mean? It's like the lifestyle that you identify with is really supposed to be flexible. And more importantly, it's supposed to be ease and chill. You like chill. So that means that there's always other people involved, or there's always, a partnership, or there's always receiving. It's like, for some reason, though, you're having to face all your subconscious shit about you trying to create the reality, opposed to learning that you co-create the reality. The same way we do in Pisces, with one dimension of God, and then us here is a co-creation. That you have co-creation issues right now. Like, and it's all about because of a specific way you want it to be. It's almost like nobody can fulfill that, not even God. So, I mean, imagine Gavin Newsom right now, who's a Libra, probably trying to be president right now. Like, he ain't going to do it unless he makes an alliance. He ain't going to do that unless he receives it from his alliance like Biden or something like that, right? Or the Democrat Party or whatever. So he's trying to do it on his own. Not going to happen. I'm using like a public figure to help you out. Like Kim Kardashian, this is her moment for ultimate relationship. Is she dating anyone right now? No. Typical, easy to see, right? I'm going to be about me now. Okay. So you're going to miss your window because all those other windows you were at were horrible. And so you can't use the traumas of the reality that you had prior in the past, right? So you have an issue with, I don't want to live my reality like the past was. The irony, though, is the past is not the moment, right? But you get caught up in the moment thinking that the past is about to happen again. And that's what you have to get over, is that you're too always trying to specifically erase your past from the moment. The only way you do that is by being in the moment and accepting the moment. You don't do that by trying to always fret off, the past from coming back. And that's where judges, right? That's what their job is, right? Like, let's make sure we put this criminal behind bars so the future doesn't have, but that's about the future. Your moment is kind of lost right now because you're too focused on what happened in the past. You're too focused on what could happen. And that's just anxiety and fear of all that you're facing, which is receiving and how you have to show up in co-creation. And why do you have walls up? The 8th house has to deal with walls. Well, are your values at a place to where you only valued it from what you gain out of it? Like, you're all about fair and balance. Where's the other side? And it's all about give and take. It's all about give and receive. It's all about sharing. The 8th house is about sharing. It's about intimacy, but really it's about shared incomes, shared sexual experience, right? Not about self-independent version of it. And with Pluto that's in the 5th in square to Venus here, I got to say, it's like this is always what brings up at least the passion to find that again. But if you let the flame go out here, I don't want to start having you play John or Elton John like Candle in the Wind, but that's kind of where you're at. Are you going to blow the candle out yourself? Or are you going to let the candle stay alive through this and actually have the light of your life? Because this is a big question. And also, maybe that you had perceived that life was supposed to look a certain way about what you were supposed to receive, or what more importantly, the issue with you being Libra energy is it's always flipped. So Taurus is about self-creation. Your self-creation comes from the things you receive from what people self-created in front of you. That includes all of us. We all couldn't be here without our parents that were created before us to create us. And when you think of it from that place, you'll start to realize, oh my God, that none of us here could be here without God, without our parents that were created prior to us. But your neuroticism at this moment is the craziness of the shadow of why don't I get to create what I want when I want to? Nobody has that power. So you're looking for something that doesn't exist because we all need each other to get here, and our parents needed to be created in order to create us. So you are a byproduct of a co-creation that you became out of. You have to look at it like the byproducts of what you want to go create are through co-creation. They're not through you by yourself. So I hope I just ended it for the rest of every Libra's life of this idea of self-creation, because that is retarded. Even the idea that, on Amazon, I'll go buy this thing and I'll make this happen. Somebody else created it already. Like, so you have to be like, wow, oh my God, that everything in life has already been created and manifested for the things that you're identifying with that you think you're going to self-create. It's more about the packaging of all those things in life. And for you in the 7th house, it's like, are you really going to use the power of this Aries energy for you in this Mercury retrograde? Like realizing like, where have you been maybe too mean, upset, right? This is Aries in the 7th. The only sign that gets that is Libra, right? It's like the anger, the upset at people doesn't work. You have to be fair and you have to be balanced. And so this is where it shows where the other side of Aries is to be the exalted one, the one that shows its soul and puts every bit of its soul's power into it. And so that's in relationships. You do your best when you put your best in relationships. But when you're putting not your frustration, your anger, or what you're not getting out of things, you've got to ask yourself, are you giving the same amount back? So you have to do a fairness test. And maybe it might be that you have a receiving issue because you're too afraid to receive. And so you don't put that as a fair thing because you're not counting what's being received, right? You're only counting what you're putting, but you're not looking at what's being received. So this is like typical. If you see people born with these charts, it's like, oh God, like they weren't meant to do it by themselves. They can't. And like, you have to remember, like, you have to learn to be fair and balanced and just about actually putting the points on the board that are deserved on all sides. And this is a big test for you about, are you really being fair on your end? So let's keep it Aries. On your end, are you being fair? On your end, are you really showing up to relationships? On your end, are you the one that's putting your best foot forward? That's the question. That's where the destiny is. That's what the Mercury retrograde stopped on. Like, or are you the one that's trying to make up whatever that you want it to be about relationships, people, or fairness, and not including your version of what you're showing up to do? Because Aries is about where we show up and our own ego and identity. So, and for you, it's about learning to share this. And love is a feeling that has to come from within you. And when it's expressed in connection in Aquarius to another, that's where Libras find love. Because the only way that Libra feels self-love is through ego, unfortunately. That's why that South Node in Libra, the first house Libra, it's kind of a weird place because it can be a little lost, right? About who am I? Because you can't do it by yourself. So the thirst for yourself is really the thirst for love that you're not willing to share with anybody but yourself. And that doesn't get you anywhere but in emptiness. And more importantly, and where you feel more confused and lost. You got the Page of Cups in reverse. So I would say it's very difficult for you to speak emotionally about things right now. And it could be very difficult times for you to be cheerio and happy. But I think that this 8th house is part of it. I think that a lot of it is realizing, hey, why don't you make a reassessment right now of like what amazing things you're receiving right now in life and what God is giving you and what the beautiful things that are showing up to you, and realize that, at least if you're going through hard shit or you're going through, 8th house can deal with shadows, or it could deal with, deep stuff within yourself, especially in Taurus. It could be dealing with self-worth issues or not feeling valued. You got to look at yourself and be like, why? What's the real cause of this in your own self? And I think that the more that you can try to be more optimistic and positive and actually speak about fun things again and be fun and cheerio about little things will be better. But stop trying to find some major crazy change that you have to do for yourself in your own life, for your own self, to gain something for your own self, and think that that'll make you feel happier. It won't. All right. Scorpio. All right. Well, Scorpio, this is the last couple weeks of horoscopes that I will give you about how well your relationship life has opened the biggest door ever. And if, again, like last week, if you have not seen that gain, that is entirely on you and staying in the weirdest little Scorpio den of all time and too afraid to open up and be fair and, more importantly, to learn to really partner. Now, it's a little complicated, though. We are in a fixed sign. It's in big opposition to you. Jupiter, Uranus, the Sun, and Venus that's squaring Pluto. Things are not going to be perfect. This is always the event where things look like they're perfect. And then, like, have you ever noticed that in all relationships, right? Not just you, Scorpio, but right when you think things are going perfect is right when the fucking shit hits the fan in relationships, right? So this could be the moment for you to kind of balance out. There is nothing perfect. There is beautiful. And accepting how great things are that are beautiful and being like, okay, like that's just what it is. And, you know, then there's stuff in life that honestly is, I don't even know how to say this, but intentionally triggering to see if you're going to disrupt a beautiful situation, right? So like you're dealing with emotional triggers about stability and beauty. Now that might sound crazy, but the truth is that it's almost like the Haunted Mansion is over. But now you're in Candyland. Okay? You don't really know how to do Candyland well. Right? It kind of reminds me of like, what's that fucking movie called? With Jack Skellington, fucking Nightmare Before Christmas. You're trying to go into Christmas and make it Halloween. Okay? Best advice I can give you through this is when it's Halloween, do Halloween. But this is about you seeing through another what's important to them and how you show up. That it's not about you and your emotional need, right? How do you be supporting? And the worst, and I'm going to put the biggest warning out there for Scorpios, okay? The worst is when you go, I'm supportive, and then you really aren't at the last minute. No, this is repressed emotional shit about it's been too Candyland for you. You feel out of sorts. Like, I don't really feel like I deeply do fit in, but I'm enjoying this experience. The problem is it's never going to go back to haunted house every day. So the big thing is about not self-destructing and blowing up emotionally. Because the biggest sign that's going to be in emotional blow-ups and hurricanes and crazy lightning storms is Scorpios, okay? And with everything now in the 6th house, it becomes where every little thing starts to bother you, okay? This is where little things you're going to have to learn to get over, right? Don't sweat the small stuff, but the nitpicking, the specifics of how you want your life to be that are not, that creates frustration. How does that emotion affect your relationships? Because you don't want to disrupt this whole entire fucking Candyland for your own need. That's really what happens in the movie, is Jack Skellington wants to make Halloween Christmas. So he fucks over everybody, every kid, every situation. And when you think of Pluto in the 4th, guess what happens when a Scorpio blows up? Everybody's involved. Like, for example, like Joe Biden, who's a Scorpio. Like, what he's done, look at the college campuses right now. Look at all the fucking people getting arrested. Look at all the fucking shit. It was described today as a wildfire of chaos happening. So you have to realize that your emotions affect people harshly or immensely positively and exciting. You have to make the choice now. But your little shit, this is where for that Aries, Mars here, in the North Node with Mercury that just retrograded. It's like, does your little shit matter? Yes. When's the right moment for that? When it's beautiful, it can wait. It can take... You don't have to push little things, because that's the thing is Scorpio gets really pissed and really upset about the littlest things. Aries, 6th house. You are actually the secret Virgo. Oh my God. Did you see that they did that? Blah, 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 blah. It's like, stop all that shit. This is a moment for you to be actually focusing on figuring your shit out. That'll help other people out. Instead of taking them down with you. Like, come down here. Let me show you how bad hell is for me this week. It's like, what? They changed the schedule at work today? You know, like whatever you're overly emphasizing is bad is actually like retardedly stupid and not that big a deal. So this is about controlling and learning emotional regulation. Now, with Saturn and Neptune and then Mars, that's going to go from Pisces into the 6th, it's going to feel like a peak moment has happened in your life about relationships and a turning point. And now, if you're not getting any of that, I'm sorry to tell you that you just have not been listening at all to God, to the universe, that opening up yourself, because maybe you need to go do the next 20 years of healing your emotions because you're not ready for it. You're stuck in your head. You won't change your environment. Life has to be a certain way. And that's also with all the 6th house. Maybe it's because you don't know, you're too afraid that you're going to destroy every person that you touch in your life, right? And that's okay, because at least you are at least willing to admit, like, hey, I'm not ready. But if you are ready, this is the moment to where, you know, like, it's okay to show up at the show at the grand finale, but this is the grand finale for all Scorpios in love, right? In relationship. The same thing is going on with Libras, right? Like, this is the grand finale. You always see with both charts, and that's why Libra Scorpio is the weirdest combo of the signs. It's where we switch to the lower part of the zodiac, but it's also this is the canary in the coal mine of where we're at in relationships, is when you actually see Libra and Scorpio having their peak moments for it, that okay, the world, you could take on, this is a good moment for relationships. If you're a Scorpio or even a Libra, I'm adding them in there because there's always that weird connection between you two. But for you, Scorpio, if you've been missing the boat, like, this is because you aren't emotionally safe to be around people. It's not about, well, my life needs to be a certain way and I don't like this. And a lot of it could be that you need to have the same environment that you've had since you were a kid and you're too afraid to change that. So what I'm looking at, this Mars, Neptune, Saturn in Pisces is a temper tantrum with Pluto and the moon, square Venus. Are your temper tantrums going to destroy the most beautiful relationships? And it could even be worse, right? Like, let's say you have somebody that you're dating or a partner and you have a temper tantrum, and yeah, it fucking hurts them. But guess what? Their family, their friend, whatever, is like forever like, you're with a piece of shit, right? And they won't let that shit go for 20 years. So you got to be very careful right now, because I know that you're on this weird upswing that you even feel weird about, because it's almost like it's tempting you to react. And you have to learn how to not react to this shit and realize that your shit is small compared to what's actually going on in the bigger picture. And are you going to fuck it all up by little shit, or are you going to miss out on opening amazing warehouse doors to the most beautiful kind of partnerships, relationships, alliances of your life because of your little shit of how you want your life to be? I want to be living in the woods for the rest of your life. Okay, have fun living in the woods by yourself. You have a relationship with a tree. I'm sure that's really nice when the moss gets up your fucking pussy. Like, that's not going to fucking change your life. You've already done it. Whatever you're too afraid to do is you're trying to go back to what you're used to doing and comfortable. That's the other part of Pluto in the 4th, right? Is like, let me repress by going back to what makes me feel comfortable, which is self-destruction, picking toxic situations, trying to find situations that bring me excitement that actually are dangerous or actually not sustainable. You're learning to have sustainable relationships. You're learning to have a sustainable life. And you also can't freak out because your work or your day-to-day life is out of control. Or really, is it out of control? Is it just little things that you're over-exaggerating? So this is about learning how to not over-exaggerate the little things, not have a temper tantrum, but at the same time, ride the wave of this awesome, happy energy. But it could be all taken away in 1 second by your emotional reaction of the stupidest little thing. This could be the week that takes you down because you're just like, it's all good, and then you get drunk or you do something stupid and you just fucking say the stupidest shit ever. And I'm sorry to say, is that your Jupiter-Uranus lesson? I don't know. But don't you dare, because you have the info before it could happen, to know, oh shit, I'm not going to fuck that up. Because you are at major moment here where it almost is tricking you into thinking it's so good, it can just keep going better. No, the universe is about to throw the curveball of you and see if you're going to fucking hit people in the head with it. So, and that's going to be kind of the weird test here is like, you almost don't really actually believe, I think deep down in yourself, that you can find an emotional safe place. But now that you're starting to see it, you're almost like questioning if there's something wrong with it subconsciously. And so, you know, the fifth house is about play. So you could also be trying too hard to prove something or have too much fun when it's not the moment. This is a week for you to really realize that you're a little kid that needs to grow up and needs to grow up emotionally and needs to grow up about how to understand when others, their life is just as important as yours. And so you need to pay more attention to what the other's going through and to see if you're bringing all of your stupid, repressed, emotional shit that's stupid and little, or your problems that you're going through, until maybe they can just be fixed. Maybe it's just a phone call away to a friend. Maybe it's just a phone call away to, or just actually facing the issue, right? Instead of ruining somebody else's day, we're coming into graduations, we're coming into, you know, the springtime of all these kind of things. Like, are you going to go ruin somebody's life? Are you going to go ruin somebody's wedding? Are you going to go ruin somebody's, like, what are you really doing? That's a big question when it comes down to your lifestyle and how do you find emotional security in beautiful relationships. Like, how do you deal with your repressed emotions? You can't avoid them. But, you know, this is where the sixth house can be like, where's a really a good place to do this stuff? Working out, running, doing something like that. But that will never fix it fully. You always have to do another lifestyle adjustment, which is, all right, let me stay busy doing something of meaning and work. And yeah, there's going to be frustrations. How do you at least let it out through there, right? That's my horoscope for you. I mean, I know it's kind of harsh, but it also is like you've peaked out. So, you know, it's like when it comes to here's your opportunities for this shit. Now you got to get your personal life to actually adjust with where physically you got. Because you know what's the craziest thing is that you've gotten all the goods in the reality, especially in relationships and being able to change your reality and to find happiness, but it's not fully done, Saturn and Neptune in your fifth. So you actually don't know if it's going to end in a disaster or not. That's all based upon your repressed emotions that haven't caught up to everything yet. So if you've been holding something from your partner, especially emotionally, and it might not be about them, right? But something that you've been through or something that you can't let go of, holding it in is going to come out in the most worst way. So this is where you have to be extremely learning to how to communicate and be transparent and be emotionally like, hey, I deal with this emotional issue, or I have an emotional situation going on in myself. You have to learn how to communicate, and so that builds value of partnership, opposed to it coming out of fucking nowhere, right? You could even bring up things from the past, right? Like, what? Maybe you did a blood sacrifice while you had sex. I know a lot of Scorpios who've done that shit, ironically. And you never told your partner, or you never told the new partner that you're dating, or you never told people that you care about in your life. Or let's say you're at a job and you have a bad ex and they fucking are trying to kill you right now or come to your work or whatever. Don't just act like everything's fine. Page of Wands reverse. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to learn how to not be a little kid about just everything's all happy. It almost reminds me of somebody who's just like too extravagant when it's not the moment and then like embarrassing themselves. Too forcing the happiness. Listen to me. I won't call you unhinged because I don't think you are, but it can look that way to others this week. You need to be very apparent of what's going on and very apparent of your own emotions. And also, because your number one shadow is jealousy, maybe there's an underlying jealousy when you start to see others that you love or that are being propped up that you're not, and the attention's not on you because you are Leo 10th house. But we'll talk about that when we get to planets in Leo. All right. Let's go. We are now to Sag. Just taking my time with these because I know, and I did this last week. I've been doing it for the last 3 weeks or whatever. I'm like, with the eclipses, I'm like, this is all very big shit. So I'm taking my time. All right. So Sag. Since I'm showing people basic astrology that most astrologers actually don't show them in sun sign horoscopes, you're in the fucking second quadrant, all right? And this is dealing with your personal life. Now, I know this might be hard to hear, but your personal life is a mess that you're actually doing a good job of cleaning up. Okay? But we desire so much when we're in this space, and we get so frustrated that we don't get it. So I'm not going to be the astrologer that's going to lead you to believe that all this fifth house energy is going to bring the love of your life that's going to change your life. Because I already know that when Jupiter comes in the seventh house, or we start seeing all these other planets come in the seventh house over all these years in Gemini, there's a lot of attention going there. I can tell you from personal experience that I've learned that the fifth house is not the house that's going to bring you your ultimate happiness. The fifth house is temporary. We love things for a minute and not. I'm not talking about true love. I'm talking about just like, the computer that used to run this, just 3 months ago that I fixed? I just looked at it the other day when I was putting together a set. It's fucking yesterday's news. It just sits there as a rotting corpse of a fucking thing. So if we look at this Taurus energy in the sixth house and with Jupiter Uranus, it's the most dull house. So I'm going to be honest with you. This is where Jupiter is at its detriment, the sixth house, right? Because in Virgo, it's at detriment. So for you, this Jupiter Uranus is kind of a ball buster because it's not for Sag is going to deliver a lot, but it is in the sense that the little things that never work. So you got to look at your life, like the big things you get, but all the things in between, it's always like, fuck, right? Like we'll use Britney Spears as an example. Fame and fortune, basic daily life. Ha ha ha. Look at her now, AI'd out, right? This is about reliability of you realizing that life needs to be, I'm not saying you need to be a basic bitch of life, but you have to get back to the essentials, like I've said. And Jupiter Uranus here with Venus now, and then Mars coming in the fifth is being happy with a more not normal. You're not normal, but let's be real, Taurus, the life that you value is the little things that actually work. Because you know what? Being on the great adventure is fun. But coming back to nothing that works is hell. So my big caution to all Sages at this moment is you're reaching for the stars when it's not your time. I've been here. Okay? I've been here. Not your time. You got all this energy in the fourth house opposing the 10th. You got all this energy in the fifth opposing the 11th. You got all this energy in the sixth opposing the 12th. This is not where you reach the last quadrant of life, like where it's like the peaked out and it's closing out. And you're at this place where, okay, you're not dealing with identity issues anymore. You're not dealing with you still got some value things to talk about with Pluto and Capricorn, but now you're in your head a lot. And now you're it's almost like you're trying to figure it all out. Like, I'm going to be smart enough to figure out how life works. I'm going to be smart enough how to get the person I want. I'm going to be smart enough how to make my job better. I'm going to be smart about how to make this happiness work. It will never be your mind that figures out these things. Okay? And I think for you, this is a moment about, let me accept that, you know what? I'm reaching for too much and I need to actually get back to the essentials and fill the essentials with very specific and keeping things very minimal, meaning I'm going for this kind of relationship. I'm going for this kind of work with my job. I want to live in this area. And this is my, like, boom, that's it. Stop shooting off every firework, which really are flares for attention right now. Or bringing in too many people, doing too many things, traveling too far, going too many places right now. Like, this is the time for you to get, if a Sag can be sleeping in the same bed, walking to the fucking sink, brushing their teeth with the same toothpaste for a year, and doing the same routine without fucking it all up, you're going to go farther than not being able to do that. Right? Like, always questioning, should I bail? Should I go? Is there something a little bit more happy out there? My needs want it. My needs have changed now, and my beliefs always win. The problem is that I have a new thing that I want. I have something new that has come up. I have something new that I like. I want to, right? So you are constantly changing, and that's not a bad thing, but you're at the time in your life where that is not going to get you anywhere now. Now you have to have a base, and that's what that Saturn at the 4th house is, right? And also it's with Mars and Neptune. So it's like, this is where it's like you've probably aimed too high, tried to do too much, and you forgot about your basic needs, and even maybe weird home situations going on, right? And then this North Node with Mercury has been like, am I actually happy? I'm going for what I want. Are you sure that's what you really want in your life? I think that Sag have very good understanding of specifically what they want, and they're not doing any of what it is. They're doing the things that kind of like surround it. You need to get out of the surroundings things. The best way to put it would be you keep beating around the bush, right? You're beating around the bush the life you want. You're beating around the bush the love you want. You're beating around the bush the foundation you want. And you're terrified of normality. You're terrified of having to single out anything that is more singular, right? It always has to be plural. Well, there's multiple options. There's these 2 girls. There's these 2 guys. There's these 4 things. There's all my friends, and your friends are the worst thing. Going and trying to do all these communal things, trying to do these friend things, trying to do all these things. Like, this is your problem. Too many groups, too many friends, too many circles, too many out there in the world. Like, this is where you need to single out. That's the person. That's the reality. This is life. And even though it seems boring and normal, I'm going to inject that with my happiness, inject that. And I need to have a foundation, or I'm going to feel like I'm emotionally fucking out to sea. And so the problem is that you're just trying to go for a million things. And you think that it's fine. It's not. Or let me try and, if you're trying to go for things of the past, especially because all this Taurus is opposing your Scorpio energy, well, you know what? If I have to do normal, let me do it with something from my past, because at least that will feel comfortable. No, it won't. That's also the 4th house problem with Pisces, right? Is that your comfort is just the past memories of things. But were they ever stable? Right? The good news is I bet you there's a Sag right now screaming, that's exactly what I'm doing. And it's like, I bet you are. I'm just reminding you, because it's very easy for you right now to go, look at what else is out there. This is not about what else is out there. This quadrant is a house, if I were to give you basic astrology, when the sun sets and comes down to midnight. Okay? There's no light. None of these planets can be seen. And right now, unless you wake up before the sun rises, right? That's when you can see Venus, but Venus is closing in on the sun. So we're about to go through, because it was 9 months ago that Venus came out of its retrograde, right? So Venus is about to be in a fucking cazimi that you're not going to be able to, an inferior conjunction in the 6th house in a dark place. This is not about what am I getting from all these things. You need to be thinking like, and if I want a quality life, I have to actually go live a quality life. And it's so against your rebellion of trying to be different from reality is the problem. Jupiter is trying to help, and Uranus is trying to help. Like, it's not you can live a different life, but there is a common thread that Uranus understands of the reality. Like, we all brush our teeth. Whether that's with fluoride or not, that's up to you. It doesn't matter. But not brushing your teeth are going to fall out. Having a stable day-to-day life is like your biggest quest that you haven't actually experienced. It's always, I did that too. I was over here. I did that. I was that. I was with that. I was that. You have done too much. You have to take it and ground and find a meaning now. And that's where your happiness will be. Singling out what that is, not so open. Like, that's the problem, right? Like, well, I like all three dudes. I like all three things. I like all 4 job opportunities. I like all 5 projects I'm on. I like all the places. But you know what's funny? This is your perspective. It's not really what's happening. Usually what's happening is like, if I were to look at somebody, they're Sag rising and they got all this shit, like, look at Biden. He goes back home to Delaware when he has the White House. He can't even accept the normality of being a president, of living at the White House, if he's real. But like, he's a Sag rising. Why you can't live at the fucking White House? Too much for you? Like, you need to always be changing it up so much? That's my point. Like, this is why you're trying to do too much. You're not focusing. This is the time to focus and be laser focused and single out a path. Single path. Like, this is the path. That's the person. That's what I'm doing with my life. And this is where I'm going to land the plane and stay. And this is where I'm going to deal with the whitewash energy of tsunamis emotionally of me having to plant. Because Sag has to learn to plant. Because like I told you, you're going from adventure to master teacher guy, right? Like, so now that you're going to master teacher, you got to be at a temple, right? Like, let's put it that way, right? Like, you just can't be, the Pope in the Pope plane all day. So I know it's kind of a weird horoscope, but it is the horoscope that's real as fuck. And like, anybody who's just going along with the show right now in your life is the wrong people. When you have a South Node in the 11th house, the wrong people are the ones that are cheering you on and not calling you out. So you need to relook at who's in your life right now, because really they don't want your actual happiness. Because if they really did, they would be real. It's about the 6th house now with you is real. And with Venus square Pluto, and Pluto's in your 3rd, who's going to communicate that real shit to you? Because you want to talk about a Sag that creates crazy fucking ideas? Oh, it's Sag that creates crazy ideas, and with nobody to check them on it. What kind of life is that? Don't worry, life can be really fun. I think that you'll realize that you have more fun not having to worry about the ground always shaking from underneath you, or worse yet, feeling like a tsunami is always taking and washing the town out. And paying way more closer attention to who's in your life. I think that this is a moment of Sag realizing that, what you have, if you're going to change things, change them to actually be what you really want. If you got to stay in that singular kind of lane now, instead of maybe you're just not happy because you are choosing like, okay, I'm focused, but it's with energy that you don't value and the lifestyle's different. Like, I think that if you're talking about relationships, especially with Jupiter getting ready to come into Gemini, Venus square Pluto here in your 3rd and your 6th, it's like you're dealing with a relationship that you guys actually don't have the same ideas, even though you think you do. It's like it feels like it's common when it's really not. And the lifestyles are completely different. So you could be like, you could be suppressing a lifestyle to try to be more like the person that you want to be around right now. And it's like, that is the worst thing that you could do because you can't be real. Well, you pulled the devil reverse. This is keeping you away from the darkness. This, what I just told you. If you want to counter me and go the other way, you will be met with the devil and all your shadows and all the darkness and be chained. This is actually to where you can be unchained because all of your adventures and all of your openness has actually been the greatest chain of your life. And so this is like helping you avoid the dark because you're important, very important for this future and what your mastery and your teaching skills will be. So it's going to be very important for you to find the right base now and to single out. And I know that's so opposite to you, but I'm sorry, but Jupiter is in its detriment house for you, and it's coming into its detriment in Gemini to square Saturn too. These are not Jupiter times for you. These are not times about doing the big exploration of life, but exploring the most basic things. It's almost like cotillion. And if you don't know what that means, well, that tells you a lot. All right. Let's go to Capricorn. If you thought you knew everything. that was probably the best end to a horoscope I've had in my life. Of teaching and being funny and being like, got you. All right. Actually, DJ just said it as a Sag horoscope. She said, thank you, time for self-discipline. That's a great one, but I would also say, yeah, but I think it's more just about discipline, about understanding discipline, and then understanding where you deprive yourself of like the best thing if you're going to be in a disciplined place. So you can self-deprive yourself of what's good for you to bring in, and by choosing, well, more like that's the problem with Pluto coming back in the second for Sag, is like, oh, well, I'll just take this because, like, you know, they can make this happen or something, when really it's not what you really want. Like, there's a lot of weird shit there. But when we get more toward that, I'll talk about that. All right, Capricorn. Well, as you can see, you got everything at the bottom of your chart. The more that we go, Aquarius and the Pisces, right? You're seeing everything at the bottom and the beginning of the chart, right? The first quadrant. He keeps going that way. But for you, you've been past that first quadrant, except for Pluto that comes back. So this is the big ordeal. It's like you really want to find the happy road. And that's a good thing. Keep going. But a lot of it is knowing that it's hard for it to stick. Nothing's going to stick. Pluto's still got to come back in the first. I think that you're too obsessed with things sticking right now. If you know, any Capricorn listening to this, listen. Or Cap Rising, nothing's going to stick. That's okay. It doesn't mean that it can't stick eventually. There's a big difference. When you hear, I want happiness, I want to find my life that's going to be sticky, it's like, well, if you're saying it's not going to be sticky, that means it's not it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that right now it's not going to stick, right? Especially if you're trying to find love, or you're trying to find a project to turn a different way, or you're trying to find just your overall happiness. Like, it'll be there, but remember that it's going to shift, and that'll shift, and this'll shift, and that'll shift, and nothing's going to actually be concrete. All right? When you mix Mars with Neptune and Saturn here in the third for most this week until we get to the end of the month here, it's in your third. I mean, this is where you are wild coyote kind of all over the place. That's okay. It's good right now because you're in the biggest transition of your life and it's coming to an end, but we have till November. Right now, you're in that place where you're in between worlds. It's just the way it is. So with the fourth house, with Mars coming into the fourth, this is where you need to ground, take care of yourself. You will go farther by just doing what you basically need. So this is going to come in conflict with your work life. Now, I've already told all you Capricorns that if you've changed your work over the last year, it's not the path. Okay? I know that you all want to fucking still believe it, but this is where You'll get more and do more by not doing the thing that you think you're supposed to be doing out there in the world. This is where you take care of yourself. Maybe you learn to take care of another right now, right? This is also where whatever family situations, like could even go to your childhood, have to be repaired with Mars, Mercury retrograde that just finished, and Chiron here. This is where you're going to find your strength, is repairing your emotional life. And your happiness will be repaired. Well, the repaired emotional life will help your happiness, right? And think about it. Why is life not sticking? Because you have all these mental, emotional, happy places that they never did stick. And they're going to by the end of this year. And you're never going to go through Pluto in your chart ever again for your own sign or your ascendant. So guess what? Of course the universe is doing this right now. Of course you have to get to the bottom of the things that aren't you and that you need to do repair of, like feeling okay to come into the fresh start of life and the transformation of living two realities in one life, two lives. This is a life where you are living two. This is side B of the tape in your life coming in. If you're young, well, you're a quick soul that came here to live a quick little part of life and then switch it, right? Your whole life's going to switch. If I were a Capricorn, I would not make commitments to anything right now about your future. Because by the time November comes and when Pluto comes back into Aquarius, then it's like, oh, I really want this now. Especially because Jupiter's going to come into your 6th house and then square Saturn in your 3rd. Like, don't be going into a place that you know is just completely fucking not what you want. It's probably what another person wants you to be. That you've been programmed to fulfill the destiny of somebody else, which is not what you're here to do, right? Especially right now. So, no commitments long term. And that goes from relationship to fucking career. Be transparent, like you're healing your emotions right now. Be transparent that like you have a lot of work that you're doing on your family life, your connection with your family or parents, whatever it might be that you have to do, because there's a lot of damage down there. And you can't be the one afraid to bring it up with Mercury that's down here with the North Node and Mars. Like if you know that mom and dad have been weird, you got to bring it up. Right? But you also got to find that, okay, I'm trying to find solutions. I'm trying to find, and you know, your mind is cluttered with things because the past is just all of those Piscean thoughts are just the coats of things that remind you subconsciously without sometimes even understanding what's going on. And it's usually in plain view or it's been happening in your view and you've kind of axed it out, but you got to face it. So this is kind of like trauma healing. 16 years of it. And that's why I wouldn't make big commitments right now. Because you can't say you're going to want to be committed. You would be lying that you are fully committed into anything that is feeling like a deep commitment right now. You'd be lying. Oh yeah, no, I'm really excited for it. Yeah, right. You are if it's temporary and it's fun and who knows, there's no guarantee at the end. Actually, that's where to be living right now. You get the flexibility to be that way. Right? But maybe you're too afraid to do that. Maybe you're like, no. Because I think that right now, if you try to take on commitments, you're going to be unhappy. Right? You got to figure out what's the emotional shit that's been going on with going through a Pluto transit. Now that it's in your 2nd house, it feels like, well, I have to start from what I really want. And what is that? And there's so many things and I need to find the solution now. No, you don't. The solution is very simple. Uranus rules your 2nd house. So it's things that are sticky or already have substance to them. Those things are hard to find right now because Pluto comes back to your 1st house, meaning you don't know who you really are yet. So you don't know what the real career is for you long term. You don't really, it's like you'll notice Capricorn or Capricorn ascendants can be in a place where it's like, I'm jumping between this and then I want to be that. I want to be this. I want to be that. Like that's normal. Let them be that way. And if that's who you are, that means you're living life normally. It's not about being worried about that. But at the same time, Can you really commit to partnerships right now? Probably not. Like, you don't really know who you are. It's all going to change. You already know it. Like, I think that the biggest thing is giving away too many promises that you can't keep. Right? To make yourself feel happy that you can, but you can't. Because you love to deliver. The problem is you don't know how to deliver for yourself. The problem is you've got your own emotional shit to deal with. The problem is you haven't really ever found what happiness is for yourself yet. But to be honest with you, it's temporary. This year is going to fly by. We're already coming into May. November is not that far away. You've been through 16 fucking years of this shit. Which you're going to be in the next 4 months realizing it, especially this month of May. Holy fuck. And you've already done that so many times. Holy fuck. Holy fuck. We are now getting to the bottom of it. Literally, right? Like, we're getting to the bottom of it, but there's more light. That fifth house is at least lighting up saying, keep going. You're going to make it through this. Just don't stay committed in the middle of the fucking cave to anything. Why make commitments in the cave when you haven't even seen the other side of the fucking cave yet in the light? You haven't even walked out and seen what's out there yet. I will only do this for you since it's such an extreme time, but in the movie that started George Lucas's career, which is THX 1131 or 38, I would say that all Cap Rising should watch this movie, right? It's the first one he made, 1971. It's what he made THX Sound with and all that stuff. It's about a world where the future's here, right? And it's this totalitarian world where all these people live in this crazy control world, and they don't realize that they're living underground. But one man decides to go against all the rules and find his way out of that place. And it's a crazy story. And when he gets out and breaks out, he didn't know he was living underground of an earth that nobody even knew what was going on, right? So he gets out and he goes, this is why George Lucas did this in Star Wars, right? But this is a different story. He gets out and goes, I don't even believe, he doesn't even understand what the fuck is this? That's you. So right now, you're still breaking out. And the best way to put it would be when he's on the ladder at the end. You're in the ladder making commitments. This is going to be my job. This is going to be everything that I'm going to be in my life. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be that. I'm going to be that. Oh, I'll commit to you. You're walking out of a world that you don't even know what's on the other side of it at all because your mind's going to be blown. Like, what the fuck? Like, the stuff that you'll be able to take with you will fit in. Like, he's a human body, for example. It's not like he left his human body down there. So it's about not attaching to anything. Pluto is the release of attachment to everything that you thought it was supposed to be and want. That's what makes Pluto transit so hard. And you've got it longer than any other sign. Now Aquarius is next. Although they love detaching. Right? So their problem is like, okay, kill me. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like fucking where Capricorn's like, don't take down this ship. God damn it. Fucking no, we are captaining the ship all the way through. And that's the problem is that where it's ending you up is like, what is it called? Fucking, God, I'm old. Even though I'm not old, I'm going to be 40, but like, it's like Swiss Family Robinson. Right? That's you. I thought I was going here, but the ship busted and now we have to live here. This is where we're going to find my happiness, and I have to figure. So all the promises you made to all the people on the other side that are waiting, they'll never hear from you again. Unless your sons or your kids, so I can go out there and give the message back in France. Like fucking like it like and the adventure and all the things that you will become and that you will identify with, that you will love even more, and the love that you will find when you build your new treehouse in a whole different reality will be better than anything that ever happened in your whole entire life. But think that's America. It became a shipwrecked place after defeating the British and had to rewrite and define what it is and didn't know what it would look like and had to create it. That's where you're at. So making all these promises and making all these emotional things, like this movie, you know, it teaches you so much about life. You have no idea what it's going to look like. So stop identifying that you've got it all structured. Like South Node is dissolving all of the things that were the structures. And that makes sense with Pluto being in Capricorn. At the end, it would have a South Node in Libra, right? This is the only time that the South Node has been in Libra during the whole Pluto Capricorn transit. So I know this week it's not there yet, but you have to look ahead of time because it's going to retrograde on the 2nd. So, like, you got a nice little preview of possibilities. That doesn't mean that it will be those things of what to create and build. And it might not be this either. I'm just giving you analogies, whether it's THX 1138 or Swiss Family Robinson. You should probably watch these movies when movies actually used to teach us beautiful things. They don't anymore. And, you know, to have the pleasure again to like excite your wife to show her the treehouse that we're going to live here after, you know, everything's lost at the ship and they find more happiness there than they ever did at home, is the future you have to start to pay attention to. Is that like there's a whole different way to have love, a whole different way to live your life, a whole different way to find out who you really are, instead of connected to some sort of like system that you created that guaranteed it didn't reach anywhere at all over the last 16 years that you wanted it to. If you really want to be Tiger Woods, who I don't know how many times, right? His comeback, right? Tiger Woods' comeback ends early as he pulls out of Genesis Invitational. In Tiger Woods' latest comeback, two things have clearly changed. Tiger Woods' glorious comeback at the 2019s deserves a deep rewind, right? It wasn't a true comeback. Tiger Woods' comeback at the Hero Challenge proves he's not ready to sail off into the sunset. How weird is that I just showed you about sailing off into the sunset? He's not ready, and he will never win it again and be the big thing that he wants to be. Now, I'm not going to lie, there might be some Capricorns in September to November that might do it. Like he might just do it's like the last act. But usually it'll be the last act that you fail. Hard. So, you don't have to do that, though. But I could just show you. Tiger Woods' comeback was nothing like the others. Tiger Woods stirs 2024 hopes as an unlikely comeback shows promise. It never does. Every year they say this. Every fucking year, this is how they make money. People still only watch golf to say, I hope Tiger Woods comes back. Not going to happen. 2020, the comeback, a new chapter. What happened in the last 4 years? Oh, yeah, he had surgery again and he didn't do comeback. The one word Tiger Woods uses to assess his comeback start is what golf fans wanted to hear. Exactly. You're just telling people what they want to hear, even though you can't promise the comeback. Tiger Woods, the rise, fall, and comeback of an icon. Right? And that last moment was 2019 when Jupiter was in Sag and Saturn was in Capricorn. And right, the last big moment you've already had. Look at all these, like the never-ending story of the Tiger Woods comeback. That's exactly what it is. It's not a comeback. When Tiger won, he won every fucking championship, okay? It wasn't like, oh, he won the Masters. He won the Masters and he won the fucking FedEx Cup and he won this and he won that and he won that. And he was right? It was like everybody's wanting that again. That's not happening. The never-ending story that you have to let go of. So, I know I went off on a tangent, but it's like, until Capricorns really accept this, they won't be happy. It's not about a comeback. It's about the new you that's better than a comeback in a different way, you don't know who you fully are. You're getting to the bottom. At least you could say more than any other sign, I've been to the bottom. I know who I fucking am by the end of this year. Right now, all the promises you're making, they don't align with something you don't know yet fully because you haven't reached the last plank of that ship to see if it's still worthy of being that captain of. You got the Queen of Pentacles. Yeah, I think that this is a time to just keep sitting on the things that you value within yourself and holding the space and knowing that eventually it's going to all be there. It's about self-nurturing yourself and mothering in a physical way and just taking care of the needs that you need right now and finding that place of serenity. That's actually a Capricorn card, ironically enough. All right. The feminine, because it is a feminine sign. All right. Man, I'm fucking going hardcore on these fucking. You're welcome. Aquarius. Well, this is the last week, and I'm only saying this to Aquarians. This is the last week of Pluto direct in Aquarius until the end of the year, right? Now, I can only say in a way that an Aquarian might understand is like, I think it's different. When Pluto came into Capricorn in 2008, you watched Capricorns just fall left and right. Mel Gibson, Tiger Woods, like it was just like Oprah, everybody just bye. Boom, 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 boom. That's not going to happen to you. It's more like, when are you going to rise up? Right? Like, when are you going to put the key on a fucking kite and show the world there's electricity? Right? So it's like the self-worth downer that you have to get over, right? It's not going to be the way I want to be. It's not going to be, right? So it's like, that is because it's dealing with success. Pluto rules Scorpio, and Scorpio is your 10th house, right? That's why so many Aquarians were during the Revolutionary War, okay? What's the problem, though, with you feeling like it's not all connecting? Well, emotional and in your head. But again, the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction happened for you in the 4th house. The last place on Earth you would want it as an Aquarius. Right? But to be honest with you, you're probably noticing that you're finding comfort again in life that you've never had before. Actually, you've never found comfort like this. And that's actually what you've always wanted. So now you're so focused on, let me get to what I can achieve. What can I show the world? What can I be? Hey, why don't you just like relax and enjoy this comfort for the rest of the year till Pluto comes back in? And you know what? That doesn't mean you're going to miss out on success. If anything, you're going to gain more success. You need to be more comfortable in your skin, more comfortable around where you're at. Learn to take in the comfort. Now, I brought up last week that you need to start working on hugs, handshakes, laughs, cuddling, touching, not looking like a trembling like person, like, not looking like a robot energetically, right? Like, this is where, like, let the back massage happen, right? Maybe try giving one. Like, what? Like, like, let those things start connecting. Like, give your kid a hug. Give your fucking lover, or if you're dating somebody, give them a full-blown touch fest that they have never fucking expected from you ever. You will find nutrients that you've never felt in your life that you keep avoiding. Because you're the only sign that fucking has not dealt with full blown, like, let me wrap my whole body around you. For you, that's like, ugh. For longer than a minute or for sex, right? Like for the whole night, right? But it's more about, do you want to go do that to other people? Just like handshake them. Hey, how are you? Right? Like this is about realizing that you go farther when people like you. And the only way that people like you is if, guess what? They can feel you physically, energetically, a handshake, a hug, without it being like the eyeballs of an Aquarius when a hug is coming or a handshake is coming is fucking the sign of when I know I'm dealing with an Aquarius. And I think what's hard about this moment is you're wanting to manifest and create. And Mars has been the second house. It's coming through Neptune. And it's like, this is the big blow. You ain't going to create unless you're in touch with your spirit. Now, spirit is different than soul. Spirit is the connection from soul to God. And that's the more whole definition of spirit. Meaning how you and God have to come and merge together to create. What the issue is like you get that. But learning how to co-create in the physical reality by being very hands-on with it outside of the environment that, you know, you have to learn how to make it a common trait. The co-creation of physical parts, right? So it's good for you right now to, your friends gardening, go garden with them. Instead of only you gardening. Your friends fucking doing something, go do what they're doing physical too. Right? You can't always be the one that's sitting and watching from like you can't be the satellite person who's like on the fourth floor when nobody else is watching from above. Like, oh, I'm watching, I'm paying attention. No, you got to feel like you're here, that you're a warm person. The fourth house is Cancer. People, make somebody soup. Homemade, serve it to them, tell them how much you love them, and fucking sit and hear all their emotional situations and listen and accept it and make them feel comforted. I dare you. You'll realize that you were missing out on so much of your life. Like, oh my God, that's missing out on like the nutrients I need to feel abundant. Abundance doesn't come from money or what you manifest. Abundance comes from knowing how to be there for people fully, which you have experienced more than anybody of people trying to give to you. Now it's where you have to show the universe. You want things? What are you willing to give? Fourth house is where we give. I don't want to sound harsh, but it might be a better way to put it. You can't keep taking. And you have to look at it that way. Always trying to find the fast way to take something without even subconsciously realizing it. Like, oh, I got what I needed. Let me go. That's the other thing. Fourth house stays around. So like, this is an Aquarian trait. I had a double Aquarius father. I fucking know Aquarians like the back of my hand. I'm bucking the sperm of one. Think about that. Fucking, oh, you're good? I am out. You know what? Let me call you back. You know what? I gotta go. The I gotta go, I-G-T, got to go, G-T-G, gotta go, or I-G-T-T, that's what the universe is doing to you with all your manifestations right now. Oh, you want to manifest? I gotta go. I got somebody that has something else to do, because you haven't proven to the world yet that you can live life where you're not going to bust the I gotta go. It's so funny. There's people saying that's what I've been waiting for. It's so funny because it's like anybody who has an Aquarius in their life, it's like you've been waiting your whole lifetime for an Aquarius to just show up and fucking be like, hey, I don't need to go anywhere. I'm here. This means expressing your emotions too. Like, hey, and you know what? It's Taurus. It's the beautiful ones, the manifesting emotions. Not the what you lost, what you went through. right? Let other people do that. It's about saying, I want to build this with you. I want to create this with you. I understand the value of where you're at. And I want to, this is where Aquarians have to show that they're the grandpapa or the grandmama. That's what Aquarius Uranus is. And the safest place in life is our grandparents. They are not about their own selves. They're always about the grandkids, right? Because as parents, right, it's like, oh, grandparents are here. Yay, we get a break. So you have to be the reliable source of humanity's like, hey, I can come to you and I don't have to feel worried that you're going to pull the I gotta go. I'm going to make that the fucking rest of this year. Aquarians are just, I'm just not going to even say the word Aquarius to when I'm referring to the sun sign or rising. I'm just going to say, gotta go. Fucking, like, you know what I mean? Like, we already expect it. With my whole life, I've expected every Aquarius since I've been an astrologer to be like, they're going to be like, I gotta go. You guys' favorite line is, gotta go. Gotta get going. You know what's funny? Watch your subconscious pattern, because this is the 4th house. Watch your subconscious pattern of, you're already walking out the door as you're saying it. So you're technically bailing all the time. Normal people, like all the rest of us signs, go, you know what? I just wanted to let you know, I know you're in the middle of something, but like, I actually really do like have to go right now. Cause like we sit, you don't. There is no such thing as an Aquarius telling you they're going to go. It's, oh, by the way, I got to go. Fucking, like that is the problem of your life right now. That is the problem of your life. So you want great things. God is doing that back to you right now, being like, oh, you want that? I got to go. Fucking. And it feels like, why is it not showing up? Because you don't know how to fully show up. Now, I'm not saying that you're a bad person. I'm not saying that you don't show up in all ways. It's the exits, because that's what it's always about, right? Like, you don't exit well. That's why Pluto's coming back into Capricorn, right? The responsibility of how you exit. With Pluto going to finish here in Aquarius to retrograde by May 2nd, it's saying, hey, yeah, you really don't understand that we're going to go really deep to find out where is all of your disconnected points of who you are, right? When Pluto's in Leo, it's all about Leos and how extravagant. You're being too extreme. You're being too bright, right? Like when Pluto went through Leo, look at all the Leos. Mick Jagger, fucking, what's his name? The fucking artist who's double Leo like me, fucking Andy Warhol. Fucking, like I can go on for days. Okay. I could teach you astrology in every department for the fucking rest of my life every day. That's what I do. Fucking, but it's Aquarius. So where is every Aquarius? Jennifer Aniston. Oh my God. I'm single still. I don't want anybody around really. And what does every husband say? About every Aquarius? If it's a guy or girl, just like, you know what? They fucking just didn't want to fucking do the whole fucking thing all the way. They just were always in their own corner. They just didn't want to, right? This is where it's at. But you see everything at the bottom of the chart, and then the 2nd house, it's like you're trying to manifest, but you don't know how to communicate your emotions. You don't know how to show stability emotionally, because Taurus is being the most stable emotionally, which you've used the whole, I just won't get involved. Now you have to get involved and be stable. Wow. What is that? The I gotta go won't work no more? Because that's been your secret. I gotta go. I just won't deal with the emotion. So I won't have to deal with all these heavy things in life. Well, guess what? Nobody manifests shit, okay, without having a solid 4th house. And guess who has the most solid 4th house? You. But that means that you have to become the great papa, the great mama of life. It reminds me of an Italian gang family that the way that the mom and the dad or the head of the gang, they sit in the chairs in their house in their kitchen. They are not moving anywhere. Right? What do you mean, leave here? Right? I'll fucking cap you in the head. No, but it's like the secure, safe place. You have to learn to be the safe place for people, where people feel safe, that they can know, what are you really feeling? I don't care. Nobody cares how crazy it is. Or what laws it might violate. That's where your true expression of radicality is actually in the fourth house, is when you actually are a safe space of value, because you actually will say everything you're actually feeling without it always being, because the problem is you'll say it, but it'll always come with like, well, I have my exit. Because you don't want to actually face self-worth feelings of like, what if somebody doesn't agree with me? What if somebody, like, you don't want conflict. Your biggest fear is conflict. And guess what Pluto brings? Conflict. In the first, conflict. You avoid conflict like the plague, right? So I will admit, yeah, you don't start fights unless it's over some really stupid shit. But the problem is, bailing from fights is just as bad as starting them, or even worse, because sometimes you do need to be called out. Sometimes you do have to fucking look at what you're doing. Because when you're scapegoating everything and I gotta go. I'm not there emotionally. I'm next to you, but I'm not emotionally putting any of the energy towards you. I'm only focused on my own aura 24/7. Like, that does not do anything good for the collective, right? That actually makes it to where you're so obsessed with just your own manifestation. And if anybody's along for the ride, they're lucky. Right? Yeah, the breakthrough is like, Aquarians have to actually face conflict with being stable without an exit. Like, I gotta go. Now, you're not like Pisces that's like, I'm gone forever. You're the, I gotta go, and I'm cool that we didn't text for fucking 6 weeks. I'm cool we didn't talk for 2 years. I'm here. I'm back. What do you mean? Everything's all cool. Everything's all cool has to end. It needs to be, it's all warm. Even if it gets a little heated, better than fucking cold. Right? So like, the kettle has to always be hot now. You have to show expression and heart and happiness you need to wear that shit on your fucking sleeve. Right? Like, that's why Aquarians are so easy. I said it last week. A tattoo, you got some Scorpio in you in Aquarius, it's always the same thing, right? When you see sleeves, right? It's like, oh, you got some fucking Aquarius in you and you got some Scorpio, right? Yeah, but there it is, right? Because you wear your emotions on your sleeves, but not literally expressing them. You just want to show them on artwork. You don't want to show them in real life. You don't want to talk about them. And your big test, Aquarius, and this might sound crazy because of all this third house shit, can you look people in the eyes and tell people what you're really feeling? Or are you going to be like, or are you going to try and text it? Or are you going to try and push it another way? Like, can you emotionally say how deep you feel? Doesn't matter the rules of the emotion either. Fuck that. You are uncomfortable emotionally with being straightforward, right? Don't be Justin Timberlake and make a song about it, right? So the big breakthrough is, fuck, I can no longer just piece the fuck out and gotta go and be in my own little bubble that I want to go manifest all these things, yet I'm doing everything in life that doesn't have anything to hold it. So you need money? Guess what? In the old days, we used to have a lockbox in a bank. Well, you want a lot of gold bars, but you don't have you're always, I gotta go. So I didn't hold the gold bars because I don't trust that you're going to be able to hold the gold. You're always running away out the door. I don't even know where you go. That's the problem, is nobody knows where you go. Right? With the other signs, with all of us, right? Like when we say we gotta go, we go, well, we say the rest of the story. I gotta go because my brother, he's doing this, and I got my wife, and then I got my kid, and then we're doing this after work, and then we're doing that, and then we're doing that, and then I gotta go take a shower, and then, you know, I've been feeling weird about this, but I'll tell you about it when I see you in the next moment, you know, and we can go deeper into it. And Aquarius will just be like, I gotta go. And if they do get hit on the story, it's just like, oh, I just, you know, this is my thing I do. Bye-bye. I gotta go. And it's like you could look people in the eye, but the thing is when it gets to the deep, like, emotional shit, like about like fucking not what's upsetting you. What is positive and what you love. Try and find an Aquarius that'll look at you and tell you how much they love you and how much they value you. What they're upset about, what there's a rebellion about, what they could try and fix. Hell yeah. I'm talking about, I actually care about your needs. And I'm going to actually talk about them and hold space for you. Whoa, that is a place that's like, alarm bells. Because that's uncomfortable for Aquarians. Where this Taurus energy now is saying with Venus square Pluto, your identity has to value emotion and other people's emotion just as much as your own. And not in like because Aquarians care, but they care from a place of finding a solution or finding a problem, or more importantly, trying to act like the kind of like the friend with benefits, the friend, the da-da-da-da-da. No, the one in the fucking mix. The one in the mix. Like, are you in this with me, motherfucker, kind of energy or not? Like, you know, it's like if we could take away the escape of I gotta go to every Aquarian, they would flip out. And that's what this is. It's time to flip out on yourself and realize, you know, it's always about what's the achievement or what. It's like, can you just chill on the fucking couch and not look at the time? Can you get lost and be like, you know what? I'm just going to stay the night over here and I don't know what's going on tomorrow. I'm enjoying my time here. There's always some place. It's like the fucking, geez, this is a weird, you know what? If an alien came down and injected and had sex with the fucking rabbit in fucking Alice in Wonderland, and it was a little alien running around with a clock with a fucking rabbit tail, that's Aquarius. I'm late. Everybody's chasing to feel something from. And then Aquarians feel all betrayed, like, what do you mean? I was showing my feelings. It's like, okay, if we were talking love language, because we got to start talking love language with Aquarians, it's about touch. You didn't touch. You didn't show me how much you love me by being like, I fucking love you. Oh my God. What are you wearing? I smell that shit and it makes me fucking go crazy. It's about, you know what? This might sound crazy. The whole world has been deprived of Aquarian pheromones. What pheromones? What pheromones? You guys, when you guys don't realize every time you say gotta go, you don't leave pheromones. Fucking Taurus is about pheromones. So if you think about it, you've never had Jupiter Uranus here, right? So why do you think, like, okay, if you watch an Aquarian on TV, I'm going to just say, like, before I was married and when I was younger, like, I've never been into an Aquarius and masturbated to a poster of an Aquarius, because there was, like, you don't feel the, like, oh my God, there's a sensual feeling over a picture. You never see a picture of an Aquarius and go, oh my God, because there's no pheromones. And the pheromones only come from touch, expression of feelings fully, that have a feeling and effect that touch people, even if they're not physically touching. It feels like I was just touched by your emotions. That's the problem. So you could say, I say everything and it all comes out, but it doesn't hit. Right? Like, every Aquarian needs to go to French school and learn fucking how the French make love, how the French appreciate the good wine, and how they fucking appreciate a person. Because it's just every Aquarian's lying to themselves saying that they fucking do, because look at their life. Where are those people? And I guarantee you, if you ask people around Aquarius how they really feel, it's like, could they be more pheromone? Could they be more touchy and energetically there? And I guarantee you 100.0% of every single person around be like, yes, they can. Do you know someone? Do you know someone? Do you know someone? Do you know someone? Because you have to remember, the obsession that's repressed and subconsciously running with Pluto in the first is your 10th. Everything to you is what you're going to achieve. So love is an achievement. It's not a base of just love. Your work is to achieve something. It's not just because you love it. It's because, no, you actually fucking are trying to get something out of it. Everything you're trying to get out of is the problem. So holding space with no reward of an accomplishment? How much time do you spend there? Right? And community service doesn't count because you don't actually, again, that's another show. I want to show that I care. Do you see Leos at community service? Fuck no. But do you see us showing pheromones and love? Fuck yes. Right? People feel like they're touched by a Leo. So when they say touched by an angel, they feel like they're touched by a Leo, not an Aquarius. If anything, it feels like I'm watching the movie The Fly. So that's where this is the shift, is that you are going to realize maybe I should start to wear a cologne that actually creates a pheromone. Maybe I should pay attention to, I should like hold some space here for people and not be, I got to get the fuck away. I need a break. I need a second. You have to learn to be comfortable. So this could bring up, especially the third house, hidden anxieties. And why? Because whatever you're trying to manifest is going to require you to go through the emotional holding together and the mental understanding of what you're trying to manifest, that you're doing everything the opposite of emotionally. So you want a big car and a big life and all that stuff, but when it comes to the responsibility of emotionally having to secure and hold that together, you don't want to do that. Fuck that. I don't want to have to do all that work and all that extra shit and all that shit. You're looking for the cheap route, the easy route. Really. And I'll leave it there. Two of Cups, the card that deals with we actually come together emotionally, fully, and understand each other fully and fill each other's cups fully up. You can't make that shit up. So the good news is that's what's here. I'm not trying to, I hope nobody takes this bad. I'm trying to say that you finally made it to the breaking point to where this is where it's going now. That there's something inside you going like, you know what? I do want to be around more. I do want to fucking do all this more. I do want to be more fucking holding the space. I don't want to say gotta go all the time. You don't want to. That's the positive part. Oh, that's so funny, Jared. You're saying no to cologne. I retired that shit fucking 12 years ago. Well, maybe you should bring it back, because I'm telling you right now, the French have taught the whole world, cologne is French, even the word. And the greatest lovers and the greatest thing in the world of Taurus is pheromone. You can be hot as fuck in plastic and look AI, but there's no pheromone there, so it's not hot. It's not going to get you off in life. So it's like people are now at a place to where Aquarians can't be the AI version of humans. Like they got to be like we all have hair, you know what I mean? Like we all smell a certain way. The other 11 signs get this. The Aquarians don't. It's like a weird thing that has not, and it's okay. Like that's part of astrology, right? Like it's part of astrology. So I'll end it there. All right, last one. Pisces. Damn, I'm doing like astrotherapy. Astrotherapy, fucking evolutionary sun sign astrology. The dying art that never really existed. All right. It did. I'd say like Michael Luton's the best at it. But he can do it in like short bite form. And then when he does his long form like he used to back in the day and write him, you're like, holy shit. And it's all off one planet and one sign. You're like, how the fuck did he do all that? It's like, to me, I can understand how he did it. But I'm like, wow. I do the whole thing, so it's a lot. All right, Pisces. you're in the infant stage of your life, while at the same time, the old past life is still trying to run the show. Because everything's in the first through the third houses. This is the infant part of life. You're like a new infant. Saturn in the first, Neptune, Mars. Okay, like it's okay that Mars and Saturn and Neptune have met for you to realize like you're starting at the very beginning of everything right now. And that you have big things that you want to do and it's going to take a long time and it's also got some confusion there. That's okay. We're in Taurus in the third house. The problem with this is you have to have a grounded and secure mind. Because running your life as a fish with imagination and with so much vision is like making sure that it's real is having thoughts that are real and grounded in facts. So the big lesson now for all Pisces is how to communicate and how to know what's a fact and what is a complete made up square Pluto with Venus this week. Crazy neurotic past life trying to inject into your mind. No. We used to be this. This is how people are. This is how things were. And fucking with your head. So it's like your past self is trying to destroy your life. That past is over. Good thing Pluto does retrograde when we come back next week. And you got to come back to the 11th house and learn to put to bed the old life and all the characters and all the things that just have been part of that old show, that this new part of you that's been rising for the last year is not ever going back to who you were once were. So your big battle is trying to be the old you and trying to bring that into the new. The universe, for some reason, wanted to cut it off completely. Because you know that you would have just ended up in a fucking hellhole, right? So with all this Aries, especially Mercury that's finished its retrograde, and now with Mars coming in, like this is about finding that confidence and that self-worth about it's okay that you're at the infantile stage of your life of like, this is a new part of you that you don't know how to do well. But that's the best part is like, this is where the confidence can start to grow, that it's felt like a lot of work to just build the first steps of the foundation of an identity of who this new life is and who you are. There are no fuck ups because when you start at the beginning, you know, just like an infant, when we come out, we don't even know what to do, right? We have to rely on other people and all this shit in order to fucking make it. So it feels like hard because you want to do so much. Your best intentions are out there, but they're not reaching where you want to in your mind to be. It's about remembering that Taurus is slow. So remembering that with your mind, it's like, it's okay that it's not happening exactly in my mind the way I want it to look. This is a moment where it's like things are being created while you are battling your past and how your mind worked in the past and how your past was. Because you don't want to bring that past in. Because your past is littered with an old life that's probably a past life issue, multiple past lives. But a lot of it has to deal with like this part of you that wants to destroy in order to, not like Aquarius say, I gotta go, but be Pisces and be like, I don't even know who you were and I'm gone. And like the magician who just disappears. Like you can't disappear anymore, right? Although I'm not going to hit you so hard on that because I don't think that's where your main issue is. I think that the main issue here is in that you can't live in a reality anymore that doesn't have a sustainable mind and facts that aren't real. Like you can't keep creating a fact or have an idea in your head. Most of those ideas are actually at yourself, beating yourself up that you're not able to do. You got to be honest. Mars and Saturn are in your sign and Saturn's in your sign. It's halfway through and Neptune's here, the ruler of your own sign. You are at the most infantile stage of figuring out what a Pisces is. Even your idea of what a Pisces is totally like, what the fuck? Like we're all realizing that all Pisces, if you become a Pisces this life, you don't, unless you're lucky enough to live through a Saturn-Neptune conjunction or lucky enough to live through Neptune and Pisces, you'll never know which past life you're in or if you're starting a new life or anything. You're just always like, am I redoing a life? Am I, we can at least for sure say you ended a lot of your past life situations, and this is the moment to where you're starting a fresh new life. So everything feels uncomfortable, and in your mind, it's the past that's trying to fucking connect back to try and be kind of like a resource energy of information. You need to look at the frontier of, this is what it is in front of me, and let me just keep looking at what's in front of me. Stop with the South Node in the 8th, looking at like, I need to understand this deeper. I need to get deeper. I need to get deeper. I need to understand something. Like, that's going to get you lost. It's just about basics. The basics of you're just starting the idea of who you are, what you like. You'll be able to manifest what you want, but you're at infantile stages of things. So you've got to start somewhere. At least you're at the starting grounds. Your battle is the repressed energy of letting go of the past, which is going to come up extremely a lot. This could be a week to where, out of nowhere, especially as Pluto's about to stop and then retrograde on May 2nd, where it's like the past tries to creep back and you're almost like, that looks enticing. Don't bite. At the same time, this Mercury retrograde has taught you that you actually have a lot more self-worth. It's just, I think that Saturn beats us down so hard and makes us feel like, we're trying to go 100 steps, but really we just went one step. It's like, it's exhausting, and it makes us feel like, is all this worth it? And it makes you, the biggest thing is about quitting, right? When Pluto's in the 12th house and then Saturn's in the 1st, guess what? It's like you're in between. It's like, I'm starting this infantile stage and then my past, maybe I'll just go back to my past. Maybe I'll just quit. No, this is about realizing like you have done so much work already to get to where you're at right now, to get out of the craziest places in the universe. All Pisces got themselves out of the craziest realities. But when you get to a solid place that your mind doesn't know how to deal with, you have to calm your mind. And it's not by, what do you take to calm it? It's about grounding your mind in the values of what the gratefulness of where you're at this moment, that you're not in that crazy past anymore. Right? You're the one that will just go, oh, fuck it, I'm going to go find something there. Let me go search my past again. That is where Scorpio rules in your chart, 9th house. Let me go search, and Pluto in your 12th, let me go search for my past. I'll find something there again that'll make me feel better. Yeah, right. All you're looking for is going through a room that looked like it was a murder scene and remembering all the crazy shit that you don't even want to tell everyone. And there's nothing in any of those drawers. You didn't leave anything there either. It's about building from this new space. So if you're trying to get your past self during a Saturn transit, it's very rare to see anybody with a Saturn transit in the 1st house with Pluto in the 12th. That's rare, right? That only happens during Saturn-Pluto conjunctions and the signs that went through it. So for example, Scorpios went through that in 1984. And then Sagittarius went through that up until finally we saw Pluto come into Sag. And then they had to deal with Pluto, which that's going to be you. So, go talk to a Sag from the 90s and the 2000s and how they were still trying to live the old version of themselves from pre-84. Doesn't work. Good example is Frank Sinatra. Died, right? Trying to relive his past. So I think that it's a moment for you to realize, Pisces, there is no going back to the old life. Like there's nothing that will and it's about accepting that fact. Jupiter will pay you if you're able to accept facts that in Taurus are just basic, grounded, and seeing that the moment and the environment you're in is actually the life that you're in. The more that you keep treading on things, or the more that you keep looking at the past, or the more that you keep trying to connect things to the past, there's nothing connected to the past except for the things that, honestly, you haven't dealt with, that have to deal more with weird things from when you were young, because you're at an infantile stage of becoming even who you even know you are. You could be old right now and be watching this and be like, I even feel like I'm a little baby about life, right? You feel like you're behind on everything or learning or growing. That's because this is the ruler that's been in your sign since 2011. And I would look at that point. What happened? Because like you thought that you started to see who you are. That was the illusion. right? That was actually the beginning of, I'm walking into a fucking crazy ass past life trap. The fact that you're out of it and now it's just the enticing energy that draws you in, you need to learn how to snip that now. Because destruction is your worry with the South Node in the 8th and Pluto in the 12th. Self-destructing as you're building your new self that the last year you've been building. And letting your mind get out of facts and start to create facts that don't have value, that actually are what the past is trying to convince you to do, or even people from your past, right? So this is where you have to be very careful, because Pisces are really easy to just be like, oh yeah, they're solid, you're good. And then 1 second, some stranger from the past calls you and says, hey, fuck that, come back. Do you remember when we were Bonnie and Clyde and we did this? Oh my God, yeah, we'll relive it again. And then boom. Destruction. This time you can't come back. There's nowhere to go. And actually, it's almost like there's an AI on the other side, and there was no ex-boyfriend or ex-lover or ex-person or ex-best friend. It was somebody trying to con you to get something else. So you have to be careful of being conned, right? I can tell you, and I've never taught this, but with 3rd house, 12th house, which I have a lot of, I have been conned and fell for things that you guys wouldn't believe in my life. One time I was sitting here, like 2 years ago, I was watching TV and it was a YouTube video and it was like a Dave Chappelle thing, and they were throwing up like, if you fucking put up fucking this much Ethereum, we'll make it. And I fell for it just because I wasn't paying attention, and I was like, oh, and it's his channel, and it wasn't even his channel, some other thing. I fell for that shit. Like 12th house, 3rd house is channel to the motherfucker if it's about positivity in the forward moving future and the shit that is in the moment. But when you are trying to just fucking, if you're not paying attention, you can get conned really quick. And for you, your past is a con, right? Trying to con you. So you're going to start seeing things in the past. They're going to be ugly critters. Like, come back. I don't like the person you're being. And that happens on every Saturn transit in your sign. If you all know, I'm sure you all been through your Saturn transit. Your past tries to fucking stop you from growing, right? The past tries to come back and say, no, quit. Come back. To what? At least it's so clear that there's nothing to come back to. The problem is, in the 2nd house, you're learning a lot about self-worth. So when you have problems with your own self-worth, then you forget about the self-worth that's of everything and the worth about other things, including bad pasts. So now you're at a kind of a weird mental, and also the big test of like, if we're going to heal your wounds about your self-worth, the only way to heal them is to actually look at your past and be like, they were caused by the past. That it's in the moment that you can heal your wounds now. Because the farther you get away from your past, the more that you can heal. The more that you try to go back to your past and fix it, because that's what you actually have a good intention, but it's a bad outcome. You think that you can convince the people in your past to change. They're not going to. You have to show the way and just be, right? Like, it's admirable that you want to go into a spaceship and actually realize it's not even space and go deep into the Mariana Trench and go down 35,000 feet and fucking pick somebody up and try and save them. You are going to fail, right? So you have to let things be as they were and just focus on this life that you're at now and do the best with it, because it is the life that is going to be the one that is sturdy and actually creates what you want. It's just going to be slow. Saturn's in your sign. North Node's in the 2nd house, which is Taurus. Taurus is the big transit in your 3rd. Slow down. Accept the slow growth. Pisces is the last sign. It is the sign that makes us feel like it's the longest energy, because it's about truly understanding spirit, right? So you have to learn to understand that you are at your baby phase of a whole new reality, and you never actually were born yet. Your whole life was like a walk-in up until this point. So that past isn't even you. It was the placeholder to get you to here. So it's actually a fake life. It's just characters and people that we're all holding and waiting for your soul that came in since 2011, and you just woke up in the pod, and now now that Saturn crossed over into Pisces with Neptune, and now Mars was just here to activate those two. It's like, this is actually why you came here, for this moment in your life for the first time. Everything else wasn't a moment. Everything else was just a fucking holding place. So all Pisces are always walk-ins. Whether that's walk-ins for a soul like you are now, or when there's no big things in Pisces, this might sound crazy, and I'll put this in the astrology books for the rest of the time. Pisces are walking around characters that just, there's no soul. They're just like an oversoul watching over and keeping the matrix going. Not the Pisces I'm talking to now. So don't try and go back, because there is nothing there. That's a reptilian spaceship holographing and holding characters together in your life, and you can't change them and can't change the way it was. It's by the changes you make in yourself now and moving forward and showing a positive way of reality. You got the Strength card reversed. So I know you feel like giving up on everything. This is the card where you feel like giving up. You don't have any more strength, when that's not the truth. You have to realize where you're at. I think it's not so much about that you don't have the strength. I think it's more about understanding, like, this is a process, like any process at development at the beginning. Like, you're at the start of new things. You're at the start of figuring out who you are and like how to accept the reality and how to make your life better. This is not a time for changing things out. It's about continuing to build in the second house, and in the third house, having a stable mind. You do that, you'll feel like your energy comes back. All right. Well, fuck. That was a lot longer than I thought. 3 hours and 15 minutes? Fuck. All right. Well, I got to do full disclosure, so give me about 15 minutes to make the flyer. I already got a lot of the stories, and I just need a little break. And I'll see you for full disclosure. It's just going to be me. So much love. I hope that these sun signs helped you. I'll see you next week for them. I'm just doing them now. There's no day of the week. It's just going to be whenever I feel called. But they'll happen. So at least I know that the value of them is worth not having a day attached. That when they come at the right moment, and they come with the potent shit. So, all right. See you all soon. Bye.
Okay. Monster. Attention, please.